Not far from the mark. Glad you stopped by anyway, though. Say hi.
Yeah, I figured I'd at least, show up a little bit.
Well, I'll go ahead and make an announcement that it's starting.
Is there anybody in here that wanted to discuss anything with us? Anything new and exciting?
We could always start with music if we had to.
That would be awesome. Anybody have any requests?
Why
Trace
did
has
they
got a
lie?
new one out.
Grace has a new one. I heard somebody say. I haven't.
Yeah, Trace has made two recently.
Well, I haven't heard either of them, so I would love to hear them.
I helped a little bit with one of them, and the newest one is just him.
Okay, if somebody's got
can look
the
for
link, I can
links,
play
yeah.
it unless somebody else is doing that. Oh, and Gladflow put the Hank Hill interview in there. Oh, great. I didn't know that was up. Thank you, Gladflow. I listened to it live when it was happening. I didn't realize it was on YouTube. Now, Hank Hill did a really good job. If people have a chance to listen to that, it's totally worth listening to over on the Roundtable server. And what was most surprising about it, I don't even know why or how this happened. I don't know if it's just the power of Hank Hill or just the people that were in that server at the time, but like they let him finish his thoughts. They let him explain things fully. They asked him good questions. It was like shocking, to tell you the truth, how well it went. So it's definitely worth listening to. I feel like it's probably, if I listen to it again, I could get an even more objective view of it. But when I listened to it when it was happening, I thought this would probably be a very good introduction to just the concept of flat Earth, I think, for people who are new to it. So that is highly recommended. I'm going to open that link and then put it on my Flat Earth YouTube list. So which one are we wanting to play? The Secret Kings or the Your Invitation?
The one that Kama sang.
Is that one Secret Kings? Says
Believe so.
Yeah, we did Secret Kings together.
Okay, well, let's hear that one. I don't think I've heard either one, so.
Do we have a DJ for this, or should I summon Trace?
I'm working on it. Hopefully I can do it.
I think most people can relate. You've met those who consider everything a debate, those who destroy rather than create, those who thrive on hate and make you wait while thinking they're so great.
No, you never knew me, no, you don't hear me, do you? I don't know if I can reach teach you. I don't know if I could teach you. I don't know if you can't even learn a thing, bro.
Much of this I see, no accountability. Falling free, can I make them see humanity? Not enough humility, lacking in civility. Falling free, thinking they can be nobility.
But your little secret kings pulled around by strings, by those who wear the rings. Pitiful these little things, hope you find your wings. No, for your own offspring's sake. No, for your own offspring's sake.
Everywhere I see, no rationality. Falling free, can I make them see what I see? Not enough for you and me, lacking in real equity. Falling free, thinking they can see a fantasy. Learn from making a mistake, don't spin away acting all fake. If you're honest, reality won't break. Everywhere I see, no credibility. Falling free, can I make them see the fallacy? Not enough science for me, lacking in validity. Falling free, test and see, just like me, no empirically.
You know you never see it, no you don't know logic, do you? It's hard to see through all the sophistry, but it's hard to believe. Stuck in a fantasy, belief in a fallacy, but it's not meant to be. Hurt those they care about, taking the easy route until they don't care anymore.
Everywhere I see, people just like me. Falling free, can I break them free? It's a tragedy. Through the bottom I could see, change the man I used to be. No longer falling, see, your tactics are known to me.
Bunch of little secret kings pulled around by strings, by those who wear the rings. Pitiful these little things, hope you find your wings. No, for your own offspring's sake. No, for your own offspring's sake.
When the masks be slipping, they start tripping. They let rip the guilt trip as the love bomb hits as tender as can be, but then kicks in the selective memory. Now they're gaslighting and they got you fighting. You're accused and abused and their ego bruised, feeling used and confused, no longer amused.
They lack control of themselves, so they try to control you. Think that anything they say is tested and true. The type that's always right, but often wrong. Says that you're so weak and act like they're oh so strong. But the mask slips before long, and you will understand why we made this song.
If you deny the narcissistic supply, they scream and they cry, the eternal victims, why lie? Some are like this guy, because they can they try, through our naivety we let them fly, that's how people die. Everyone doesn't have patience for these patients, but to deny their existence is complacence.
Well, that was amazing. I really love the lyrics on that, and your guys' voices both go so well together. It's moody and inspiring.
Yeah, it's kind of based on the whole narcissistic personalities. I think we've all come across at some point.
It's still beautiful.
Yep. Exactly. That's why it's moody, right? Like it kind of punches you in the gut. I loved it when you said talking about getting the wings, and there were a lot of really poignant lyrics within that song.
Yeah, I gotta
Amazing.
give Trace credit for making like 90% of the lyrics. I only help with a few lines. Like I got one here and there, but he's the master lyricist. I'm just like, damn, son.
Yeah, that one's good, and I like his newest one though. The one that came out today, I guess, on YouTube anyway.
Yeah, I love that one too. He made
Lyrics.
them like 1 or 2 days while I was at work, basically. I mean, I just came home like second day since he started that song, and I was just at work for like a few hours, and before I know it, he's like, "Oh, I finished the new song," and I'm like, "Oh, already? The one you just started?"
Yeah, I think you two have been so helpful in pointing out how that whole phenomenon of the epidemic of narcissism that we see in the world today, which is only fueled by the current obsession with social media, also relates to the globe heads and the globe lie in general. Because it's basically a gaslighting that these globers are doing to the rest of us, aren't they? They're like, yeah, this globe thing, you don't feel it, you don't see it, we don't have any real evidence for it, but gosh, if you question it, you must be a crazy person, right? Because they all are in this like illusion, world of illusion, which is, I can't remember, there's a term for it that the narcissist set up where it's like a fake reality they set up for their victims and their targets and so on. And basically that's what's happened. It's just that the fake reality is so widespread that it's very difficult to get on the outside and see it. And even when you get to that point where you can see it, then all the other victims are also going to be yelling at you for how dare you try to shred this illusion that this narcissist has so carefully and kindly set up for us, and we're busy here enabling them, enabling our abusers. How dare you point them out as abusers? Because that's very uncomfortable for us. We might have to take responsibility of our own for our own lives if we acknowledge that this is a fake reality. So yeah, it all ties together. I appreciated that song. It was great.
And taking responsibility for that is scary because they've been, what should I say, disempowered. So they don't feel confident enough to actually take responsibility for their lives and do all these things because they might not have the know-how or the skills or self-esteem, honestly.
Right. And that's how maybe we'll be able to help people in the future. Because, I do think some people do want to get out of it. Sometimes it's just difficult to find the door.
Yeah, I mean, the cognitive, it's like narcissism always pushes people into the co-narcissism. So, of course, they're going to fight you on it.
Oh, Citizen Plane wants to say hello to us. They just sent me a message. They said they're a flat earther, so I will unmute them and say hello. Citizen Plane, can you unmute yourself now? I'm on my phone, which I feel like it doesn't always work when I do it on my phone. I'll try it one more time. I don't know if somebody's on the computer that can do it. Here we go. Hello, Citizen Plane.
Hey, what's up?
Oh, we're just having ladies' night.
Yeah, yes, I'm very much a guy. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, that's fine. One of the things we do on ladies' night, sometimes we talk to the Globers, if they're here, the Globe Believers.
Yeah.
And sometimes when they're not here, we do talk to new Flat Earthers in the server, which sounds like you are, but you said you have like a YouTube channel or something?
No, I don't have my own channel.
Rockfin. I don't know what Rockfin is. What is Rockfin?
So it's like it's a completely uncensored platform to post content and stuff. Yeah, a lot of truthers are on there. It's basically all I watch. I don't watch YouTube because you can't get any truth there anymore. No, I've been a flat earther. Well, I was like I was in the closet flat earther for like 2 years. I was so afraid to come out and tell everybody, but like in my head, I knew it was that. But then after about 2 years or so, I finally started to own it. And so it's been about 4 years now, or 2 years of me being out of the closet. So yes, I've been huge. So I actually thought of a big truth last night, and I'm trying to remember it. Can't think of it. I was watching something and made me think of it. And maybe I'll think of it.
That might come to you. Yeah, if it comes to you, let us know. Yeah, I was thinking about, it's funny that, I don't know if any of you listen to the Precious Metals show last Saturday. We also have a show, Citizen Plane, on Saturdays. Starts at 1 p.m. Eastern, where our silver and gold members run the show. So
Yeah.
I listened to it last Saturday on YouTube, and they started talking about philosophy and I think, is it pronounced Hegel, the philosopher? I think so. And the slave master dialectic.
Mhm.
It kind of relates to what we were just saying about the narcissism, because it had been a long time since I read about that, so I looked it up again, and it basically has to do with the fact how the master wants these slaves to
Oh, my kids are going.
profess allegiance to them, but then because they are slaves, they can't profess free allegiance, so he never actually gets what he wants, and then the slaves end up being the master
Yeah.
over him, because he also, this is the way I interpret it, is that, the master kind of like compromises themselves by trying to force this kind of allegiance. It's very relevant to what's happening in the world today, so that they become like shells of themselves and the things that they were trying to control, and that they somehow admire. They ostensibly maybe admire in the world, because it's really that they're envious of those things is why they would try to control them, such as creativity, big hearts, and so on, all the things they don't have. And so eventually, when they control all these things, they just keep emptying themselves out more, so then they become the slave to the former slaves.
Yeah. That's cool. So look, I thought of the truth that the flat Earth proof that I thought of last night. So, okay, so they say that we live on an oblate spheroid, right? That it's bulging it's the equator, south of the equator. They say that because circumnavigation takes longer south of the equator. We all know that's why they say it. Anyways.
Chubbier. Yeah. Chubby's a good word. It's like pear-shaped.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, if that were true, then the rotation of the Earth. Ansley, I'm on the phone. Hold on. No, Ansley, hold on. I'm sorry. Then the rotation of the Earth would cause us to feel it, because if it's strong enough to make the Earth bulge, then it's obviously strong. The rotation is strong enough for us to feel it. If it's strong enough to cause forces if it's strong enough to make gravity, give up and let the Earth bulge, then it's strong enough that we should be able to feel the rotation, right? You see what I'm saying? Hello?
Oh, I'm sorry. My son came in and was asking me a question, so I actually did not hear his question. Did any of the other ladies hear the question?
Ansley!
I'm literally doing the same thing. I'm just yelling at my
You're talking to your son, yeah.
Ansley,
Like we all are, I think.
He's talking about
It's that
centrifugal
time of
force
night.
countering. Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
my
Hank's going
daughter
to take
is
it.
screaming.
Go ahead, Hank. Go ahead, Hank.
I'm sorry for interrupting. I think he's talking about centrifugal force countering gravity.
Yeah. So, yeah. So they're saying that the Earth, is an oblate spheroid. Then how is it? Okay, so then it's overcoming gravity. If the rotation is strong enough that it's overcoming gravity, then we should definitely feel it, and it should definitely blow off some water, right? Like it shouldn't be strong enough to hold the water if it's making the Earth bulge. You see
Well,
what I'm
my whole
saying?
thing, I did when I was younger, it was the first time that I questioned, like, wait a minute, this whole globe thing that they told me about was when I went to the fair and I went on to the Gravitron ride.
Yeah, the gravity.
And when you're on the Gravitron, it spins you around, and what do? You fly backwards, and you're stuck to a wall. And so that was one of the very first times. I must have been like 8 years old that I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, how are they going to get away with that? And like, how are they explaining that? And I remember asking my teacher, and they just like brushed it off. Like, it's gravity. Gravity works differently.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
I mean, it's just it's crazy to me that people still. I mean, I understand why they believe it because I believed it. But like whenever I pointed out, like I have this friend at work, and he is like a strict Glober. Like we're best friends, but like we fought for weeks over it. He's like, "No, man, you're a freaking idiot." And he's like, I'm like, dude, you gotta think, like, just forget everything you learned. Like think of it from a new perspective. Yeah. Ansley, come on. Ansley, it's cold. Ansley.
Creation Bear has a couple people in the check-in, and they were people who were just in the live stream, so hopefully they will be willing participants if they make it down here.
Ansley, it's cold out here. Come on. Let's go in. Let's go in.
Oh, and I don't know if Shines is still there. Are you listening, Shines? I'll wait till she's listening because I wanted to say something about last week. Oh, the Empirical Emperor is here. I remember talking to the Empirical Emperor before. Hello, Empirical Emperor. Yeah, I guess even if Shines is not here, maybe she's listening, but busy with her children, I might as well take this time while nothing else is going on. I did want to apologize to her and Truth Prevails because last Friday night, I was busy making dinner for my mother. I didn't get here till quite late. And I was just so tired. I just didn't even feel like I could talk. And I didn't want to talk to so-called Professor Phil. But he was just so toxic. Like, even if I wanted to intervene, I didn't feel like I'd even put it. I thought you ladies wanted to talk to him. Like, the only thing I would have done to him is just banned him, which I think Truth Prevails did end up at some point banning him. But there was a little bit of controversy that ensued as to whether we needed people like this dishonest globe pusher Phil around here. So I just thought I'd take this time to say I don't think we do need people like that around. He was extremely hostile, even though Truth Prevails repeatedly said she didn't want to talk to him. He kept targeting her, even though both Truth Prevails and Shines answered his question multiple times. In a very clear and logical way, he kept asking the same question so as to create the appearance for the audience that his question wasn't being answered, even though it had been answered several times. So he was basically taking advantage of the patience of these women who were, I think, maybe because they're used to dealing with children, they're used to answering the same question multiple times if the person is unable to understand their explanation. But in the case of Phil, he claims to be an educated person, he even claims to be an educator, which is shocking to me. I would never allow my children or adult children of any age to take a class with him if I found that a person of this demeanor, that I was paying them to educate my children, either through my property taxes or tuition, I would immediately withdraw them from the class and insist that they need to have either another teacher or I just find another school. Because this person Phil is dishonest. He uses dishonest tactics. He's rude. He treats women in a very horrible way, differently than he treats men. So he takes advantage of them being kind, just to create an image, I guess, that he thinks he's creating for the audience, and maybe it's working. I don't know who was chiming in there. Maybe was that Karma?
Yeah, I was saying I agree. He's very rude.
Were you there
Like,
when that was happening? I can't remember.
Yeah, he also
general,
it wasn't
experience with the guy.
yeah, and he wasn't. It was interesting his tactics that he used. Like he would scream. There's instances where he would like get really bully with us, and then that would make us raise our voices. But then when a guy would come on and talk to him, he would get really calm and act really polite. It's like you could see the
It was
differences.
obvious.
Yeah, it was very obvious.
Yeah. Yeah, I listened to the whole thing. I tried to ask him one question. It was pointless to have anybody else ask him. They were doing such a good job, Shines, and them keeping them all on the point. They didn't let him escape.
Too. I didn't really need to intervene. Though later, I knew that Truth Prevails ended up banning him. So then I felt like, oh, should I have intervened? But they were doing fine. You're right, Dan.
But they handled it well. They looked better than him by far. I laughed through the whole thing. I thought it was hilarious how stupid he looked. You don't understand what they're saying. It was so clear to everybody else. So it was pretty obvious. He made it really obvious that he was treating the women differently. So
and it's just sad that
he looked bad.
This is sad.
He made a lot of the guys tell him straight up.
Yeah, and it's sad that the Globe has been reduced to this, the Fantasy Globe model. That this is the best they can do for their defenders. I mean, he claims to be a defender. Most of the people that come in here admit they don't know anything because they were never taught anything, because the Fantasy Globe model is not adequately taught in schools, because if it were, then the holes in this fantasy would become more apparent. So most of the people that come in here are typical Globe, pusher, just admits like, yeah, I don't know anything about it, but I assume the best they can do is I assume someone smarter than me has figured this out, right? They assume that's the case, because why else would it be pushed everywhere? And yet they soon find out, nope, nobody actually did. And then the people who do push it, like who claim to know what they're talking about, are like the Phils of the world, or the Jem Pandas of the world, or even the Bill Nyes or the Neil deGrasse Tysons of the world that don't have a consistent story, won't honestly debate anyone, especially in the case of the people who are getting paid to be pseudoscientific entertainers, such as Bill Nye, the lying guy, and Neil deGrasse Liar Tyson. They won't debate a flat earther. Never. Why would they do that? They can't handle it because they know it's a lie. And so that's why all they have are these tactics. They have no facts. All they have are tactics, dishonest tactics.
Another thing is they know that we know more about their globe than they do. Most of them. Like, we have studied this far more than they ever will. Like, maybe there's some PhDs out there that know more about the globe than a lot of us, but a lot of us have studied this a lot. And, we know the exact mileage, 93 million miles away from the sun. We spin it 1,000 miles per hour. We know all the math. And they don't know how to handle that.
And honestly, any PhD who isn't compartmentalized enough to not know the model as well as us is going to realize it's flat or just be dishonest with themselves.
Yeah. My daughter
So
wants
many
to say
contradictions,
My daughter wanted to say hi. I'm sorry.
Hello.
Hi.
It's so cute to hear you.
Adorable. Hi.
Hey, that was another question. So how do you anybody with children, how do you deal with the indoctrination of school? Because I don't want my kids to be taught that they live on a globe.
Well, my child isn't even in school yet. He just turned 4, and he already is like outer space, planets, astronauts, all these different things, right? And he's not old enough to understand. He just knows what he's seen in different shows that we watch, like Peppa Pig had an astronaut thing, right? So he learned it from that show. As they come with age, it's basically asking them questions. Well, what do you think about that? You know what I mean? What about this? The same way a child continues to ask why, you do that right back at them, right? And you teach them logic and to logically break down what is it until we can, have an honest discussion about it. So if he talks about astronauts or space right now, I kind of really don't take any take any
Yeah,
action towards it,
exactly.
because I know his mind can't really process that.
Yeah.
But I even have the little kids book from, I think it was Eric Dubay made like a kids book about Flat
Yeah.
Earth and some other people. So I purchased those before he was even born. I was like, I
didn't
knew
know
I would want those for my children.
Kids.
Yeah, there's a couple different books. I can see if I can dig up the links for you, but they're just cute. And it's like, the grandma takes a trip around the world and asks these questions. And so you can kind of go through the book with them. And I just really think it's all comes down to logic and discussing things with them, and for them to be able to come to their own understanding of what it actually is. I mean, it's going to be the same thing with politics and everything that they face in this world. And I think the best foundation we can provide for our children is logic.
Yeah. Because, like
But
with them indoctrinating, like that's why they teach the globe at such a young age. Because if they taught it at 16, 17, then people will be like, whoa, that don't make sense.
because it doesn't make sense. That's why they have to catch you before you're good at logic. They have to catch you and indoctrinate you into not thinking logically. They do it early. They start really early. They don't logically think through anything. And I was very fortunate. My mother taught me logic early on, so did my dad a little bit. Mostly my mom and my grandmother. And it made a huge difference when I went to school. By the time I was in school, I just told them all that they're wrong about a lot of things. I had no problem with the idea that there was a difference of opinion, because I knew what I knew, and I knew what I could figure out. And I just didn't believe the crappy story they told me. I had to think about it for a while.
My dad,
Stuff, I fell into the globe. My grandparents didn't know. But I still knew how to logically work through things. So when this came up, it was very easy for me, extremely fast. We're talking hours. I figured out where I made my mistakes. I trusted other people's opinions, and I had enough brains to be able to figure it out on my own. So
one of the things my
that's
dad
just what
did
you got to
with me-
do. Teach them how to think and be true to themselves. What?
Yes. One of the things that my dad did with me, to piggyback off of what she just said, is my dad always played devil's advocate. And he taught me what devil's advocate meant at a very young age. And even if I was right about something, he would still play devil's advocate with me to make sure that I was thinking logically sound. And so no matter what the argument was, no matter if I was justified in it or if I was completely wrong, he would say, well, what about this? Let's play devil's advocate. Okay, well, what do you think about this? So just really getting the brain, those muscles, right? That muscle memory of like, well, what about, and to always learn that, to especially question yourself, right? Like we definitely need to question everybody else, but we need to question ourselves and question our own biases and things like that. So devil's advocate is a great game to play with children, to teach them logic.
That spins
You
off
can make
into
it really fun, like Grace did for me.
Hello, fellow flat earthers.
hello.
Who's saying
Before
that?
you guys switch, I
How's
just
everyone doing?
Karma's got something to say, and then we'll go on to find out who we're talking to. Go ahead, Karma.
just before the subject changes, I just want to stress how important it is to also teach them the difference between belief and knowing, and that there are people who will tell you that they know something when it is just a belief. So that even though an authority figure tells them this is like this, like at school, then later when you talk to them, you'll be like, go over why it's not that, and then explain how it's a belief. And that's, that helps them often deal with, why is this person telling me this then? It's because they believe it.
Spot on.
Literally.
Yeah, I was just going to say one more thing on that subject, what you asked. To complain. Definitely, if for whatever reason, a lot of us do homeschool our children, but if for whatever reason you have to send them to a regular school, I think that's common for people. Even when my daughter went to public school way before Flat Earth, she knew, you're not going to learn what you need to know there. That's just a place you go to like eat lunch, be entertained by the other inmates, run around at recess, and maybe you'll learn a few things on the side if you're lucky, but your kids have to know those are not serious education institutions by any stretch of the imagination, at least none of the ones I've ever seen are. So you just like these other ladies were saying on the side, you have to, through the Socratic method or whatever the method you find works, teach them logic and objectivity and so on. Like and whenever it comes up, like I don't go into like huge lectures about it with my children. Sometimes I do, especially when it's a topic that might threaten their health quite severely. But when it's just, casual, fake, globe on the screen or whatever, I'll just say, yeah, that's just some science fiction there. NASA's just a science fiction agency. These are the same stories as you might see, in Star Wars or whatever. This is just, there's no science behind astrophysics. That's just a creative writing story, things like that. There's a lot of ways you can counteract it without, like, getting them too agitated about it or making them feel like the weight of the world's on their shoulders. So we've got Abo SF7H is new, and then somebody else said, hello, fellow flat earthers. I don't know who that was, but
No, I want to listen.
who
Yeah,
wants to listen,
it was me.
Abo?
I say I want to listen to you people.
Yeah, Dandelion, we just checked in Abo, MJ and I think MJ and him had a really cool conversation in their native language, so that was cool to listen to. But I think he's a flat earther, so go easy on him. But yeah, glad to have you, Abo. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Nice. Yeah, welcome to the server, Abo. This is our ladies' night on Friday nights, so if you do have any questions, feel free to speak up. You don't have to wait to be called on. That goes for
I don't
anybody
know
else.
English very well, but just I want to listen. Maybe I learn something, and someday I will speak to you.
Okay, your English sounds fine to me.
No, it's very well.
Your English is good. We understand you very well.
But I get that it can be nerve-wracking speaking in the beginning when it's not your native tongue, because it's hard to express yourself the way you want. So no stress if you want to listen in the beginning. I get that.
Yeah, we have a lot of people here that's not their first language is not English, so that's good. We like it. Glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm Icelandic. I started by listening a bit first, so I definitely had all the English terms for the scientific. Yeah, so I wouldn't mess up the terms. I'd learn them first.
I want to ask something. Yo.
Shoot, man. Go ahead. Take your chance here. Give us a good question.
Okay, now you are people all believe the Earth is flat, right? All of government they say the Earth is not flat, right? But I want to know why are they are lying. I know the answer. Just I want to listen to your view. Why they are lying.
There's a bunch of different reasons, I believe. One is
I don't believe. I know.
Yeah, I know.
We don't believe here. We actually know.
So NASA, they what's the word for it?
Hold on a
They
second, bro.
all
Listen
their
to
work.
answering. Hey, it's ladies' night. Yo, ladies' night. You're not a lady.
Well, you could be. You could identify as one if you want.
Oh, please don't.
Yeah, let's not go into that conversation right now. But yeah, Citizen, just put yourself on mute and we're still having a conversation with you. You know what I mean? Like you can chime in, but while we're talking with somebody else, let us describe to him what's going on.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No worries at all.
It's kind of the night where you get a chance to have.
You're not embarrassing yourself. People just aren't used to it. So why would they lie? Well, one of the reasons we can say here is that if anything I tell you is going to be basically speculation. Because again, do I know why liars lie? Well, I can guess. I can tell you why I think they might be, but can I prove why they are lying? Can I tell you exactly what their motivations are? Well, unless you ask the liar and then trust them to tell you the truth, well, then you're going to have to go with what speculation you have. But most people lie for gain. Some kind of gain. Whatever it is, it's some kind of gain for them. And that's all I leave it at, pretty much. I mean, it could be financial, it could be personal, it could be power, it could be control. I mean, there's so many reasons why. But again, it's speculation on my part. And we don't like to go into too much of a speculation here. We have a place for that. We actually have a place in the server for that. But here, I can't tell you it's fact. I can only tell you, yeah, it's kind of gain.
So
Well,
so
it's a-
you know the answer, but you can't say anything because she's streaming in
No,
YouTube.
no. She's saying that she doesn't know the answer because it would be speculation because the liars have not, number one, admitted that they're lying. And number two, if they even told us why they were lying, do we believe the liar of why they're lying? We do know that they're all liars lie for some reason, for some gain. But no matter what, in a court of law, it doesn't matter why their, you know what I mean, what their motive was. That doesn't even come into at all. You know, and even if somebody did say why they did it on the stand, you know, it can be used against them, but that still does not matter when you are serving a verdict. The why isn't important. It's the fact that they did it, right? That they did do this. So we can speculate all day about why they're doing this, and there's multitudes of reasons why. We can, you know, power, money, control, just to name the top three. But I mean, it doesn't matter why they lied. What matters is what the lies are, and can we prove that they actually are lies? Which, yes, we can.
Yeah, I think
But
the
the-
reason
but-
why
but,
you'll some. Oh, go ahead, Abo.
In my view, if you know the why, you know the reason, right? You know the why they do it. You know what I mean? So if
Yeah, and
if we know the why, we know why they are do it, right?
Yeah, motive
So
sometimes in a.
so I will tell you guys my view, like 2 minutes or 3 minutes, right? Like in my view, I'm like a Muslim guy, okay. I think this why are they do this, because like in Islam, the Satan, okay, he don't wanna people believe in God. So like when you asking the athlete guys, you say to him the earth is flat, you think you are crazy, right? And in Islam we have like people not in our place, and the earth is flat, and we have like many island, not in our island, right? And Prophet Muhammad say about Yajuj and Majuj, right? And he say like 1,000 guy, okay, he go to hell and one go to heaven, right? And we think like a Muslims, maybe we have 1 billion Muslim, okay. If you do one guy go to hell, go to heaven, mean 1,000 from Yajuj Majuj go to hell. So these guys they are so many where they are. So the Satan don't wanna people believe in flat earth to know these guys Yajuj and Majuj, right? Because the Satan lie about the fact of the earth because of this. This is my view.
So I'm a little bit lost on the whole how you're correlating this back and forth to the whole why we need the why. Why do you need the why? They
To know why
lied.
he's lying.
But who cares?
But you don't.
We don't need to know.
That's the thing. You know, in your religion, that Satan's a liar. He lies. Period. So that's
He's a liar.
true in Christian religions as well. It's a liar. So liars lie. They just do. They have a lot of reasons that they'll make excuses for. So people can make any excuse they want. They can even say it's for hiding God, which it could be. Possibly it is. But at the same time, what gets you to figure out a lie is the most important part. How do you know you've been lied to? Because if you can't figure out you've been lied to, you're never going to believe somebody comes up and tells you it's flat. You're not going to believe them unless you can tell them how can they figure it out for themselves. Can they measure it themselves? Can they actually go test things for themselves? That's how you know and not just belief. A religion, you can believe a lot of religions. Some people believe in Islam like you, some Christians, some other religions, Buddhist, whatever. No matter what religion you are, or if you're no religion at all, can you figure out if you've been lied to? And that's where from this point of view here in this server, is we don't hit the religious part because we have so many variety of people here with different religions and thought.
Yeah,
There's
I see some video.
problem with your religion. We just try to prove, are they lying?
I see some video about Catholic people. They before like maybe 15 years, and in their movie they speak about flat Earth. I think people know before 100 years the Earth is flat, right? Maybe the liar is new.
Well, here's the thing. You're Muslim, right? So, I mean, if you read your scriptures, is there anywhere in there that said, oh,
Yeah.
never mind, the globe, it's actually a globe? You're saying it says it's a globe in there? Because don't you think that, prophets and, like, that they would say, never mind, you guys think that the earth is flat, because they did back in that time. You don't think that they would have corrected them on that?
Actually, I don't understand. Sorry, I
You
don't
didn't
understand English very well.
It's okay. So let me make it a little bit slower. So there's no, back in the day when those scriptures were written, they all thought the earth was flat. Nobody had this globe idea in anyone's mind at all.
Yeah.
Don't you think that they would have clarified to the people, this is where you're actually living? This is what it actually is, instead of allowing people to think that the earth is something different?
Yeah, and our Muslim people before, like in Muhammad days, they never say the earth is like a ball. They know the earth is flat. Never anyone.
Same with the Christian Bible. It says the same thing. Jesus would have told them differently if it had been something that they were wrong about.
I don't know why they say like this. And now in our days, the Muslim, big Muslim say the earth is ball. Yo, the old Muslim says no, it's flat. Now you change your word. Why? You believe in NASA. Allah says in Quran the earth is flat. Why you change? Right?
Same in the Christians. Christians
Christian
the same
people,
way.
yeah.
So it's all about them changing that. Yes, that's one of the reasons they lie. I'm sure that has something to do with
It's make me angry.
But when it comes down to it, if you know somebody that's not not a Muslim, or even know somebody that's a Christian or another religion or no religion at all, how do you prove to them that they know where they are, where they live, or what it really is, that it's not a globe? And so that's what we do here. We don't worry about the religious part because that's for other servers and other places. We don't mind people talking about religion, just not here on the live stream as much, because again, that is a belief system that you have faith in. There's nothing wrong with that. But we don't try to push that here. We're trying to get people to be able to lied to. Have you been lied to? I mean, is the globe the real thing or not? And once you can prove it, then you know it's not built on faith. It's built on absolute knowledge that you can measure it and figure it out for yourself. That you can trust your senses. That you can trust your knowledge. That you don't have to have people over you to tell you if you're being go on the work of faith. You can go find the journey of finding who that creator is that you think it is. And
of course.
That's your journey.
I don't take...
So that's why we work on that. That's why we stay away from why do they lie.
I know what you say, but I don't take this the flat earth from Quran the first. I see the science. It is all clear. It is flat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that made it really easy. It builds on your faith.
The books to tell me. I see it.
Exactly.
I see the science.
Yeah. Well,
right?
you know there's a creator because you can see the creation. You know that it's flat because you see it and you can measure it. But that's the first step. And then once you do that, then like you, your faith gets stronger because you then have something else to back it up.
Yeah.
And that's good. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's admirable.
That's exactly what happened to me.
I mean, all old religions have truth in them because they all describe the earth as flat. You pretty much say that.
Ladies, my wife is in the VC check-in, and I just wanted to let you, the ladies know that she'll be coming in shortly.
That's awesome. Thank you.
And just to let you know, she is the reason I'm a flat earther.
That's even better. That's awesome.
No, I'm super
Got a
hyped.
good woman.
Your better half taught you the truth, huh? Nice.
Well, I wouldn't. It was kind of a mutual thing. It was more like she won't jump into anything without me. She was kind of scared, which is understandable. But I'm the one that really researched it. She almost wanted me to verify it before she fully jumped off the ledge, if that makes any kind of sense.
She wanted to do it together. Well, you guys are one. That's good.
Exactly.
Dude, I do the same thing with my brother. When I find something and I'm like, I think this might be something, I want him to check it out because I trust him to see the things that I don't. Because we both acknowledge and are aware of the fact that because I'm a woman and he's a man, we function in different ways. I'm really good at seeing the big picture sometimes, and he's really good at zooming in and finding the small details and vice versa. And if you have a good female and a good male working together, you get the best balance there is. Just wanted to say.
Oh, that's so true. You're absolutely right. And it's somebody you could trust.
Agree.
With your feelings and your thoughts and not have to be dishonest. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Drace is my best friend. We have a no judgment zone in his room where I'm sitting right now, where we talk about anything and everything at any point.
I love that. I really love that. That's awesome.
Just if everybody could do that, that would be so awesome. Brothers, sisters, friends, lovers, all of it.
Yeah, the best thing is when you live like this, when you really aren't afraid to give unconditional love and all this stuff, you attract people that are like you. I have adopted an old man in the fish store nearby. That's my grandpa now. We have adopted Bambi in Scotland. She's honorary member of her family. She's our sister. And I have another sister who lives in a different part of the country now that we adopted, Semi. You're family now.
Amen to that.
It's actually my fish store grandpa's birthday coming up soon. So do you have any ideas what I could make him or give him for birthday? Because I already made him blankets. So I don't know what to give him next.
I was going to say, do you knit, crochet?
I am literally knitting a sweater as we speak. I made him a giant blanket last time. So I'm like, what do I do now? I need to top that.
Make him some hats and mittens or something to keep him warm, a scarf and stuff.
All the time. Oh, scarf. I haven't made him a scarf yet. Genius.
There you go. There you go. Maybe
basically
some mittens.
I don't know if I can do mittens. I've never done with them before. I could get them.
You'll figure it out. Handmade gifts are the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I've even knitted hats for like people at work when they have big birthdays or I want to make them happy.
Mrs. Rabbit, why don't you say hello to the server?
Hey everyone.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Nice to meet you.
I'm pretty shy. I was just listening.
Hey, the nice thing about being shy on the internet is nobody knows who you are and you can say anything you want pretty much.
I was going to say, I'm super shy.
Nobody will know it's
I know
you.
a lot of us are. A lot of us are shy. But it's cool that you, I mean, it's really chill in here. As long as people are honest and have good conversation, there's nothing to worry about, and we would love to hear your perspective.
About the earth being flat.
Sure.
About anything. We like honesty about all things.
I think I'll just listen for a while.
That's totally fine too. Yeah, you do not have to talk if you do not want to, but please feel free to chime in whenever you. I think my microphone is kind of breaking up a bit. Sorry about that.
A little bit. But yeah, you're welcome to ask any question you want, anything you want to know about. Feel free to break in and just ask, or even make a comment if somebody is talking to somebody with the globe view. If you feel like you have a good point, go ahead.
All right. Thank you for the warm invite.
Also, no, we're really happy to have you, and your husband has talked very nicely about you, so I've been very excited to get you here.
Thank you.
Do we have any Globers?
It's been pretty dry lately. I haven't seen many come in. Not tonight, especially. I mean, definitely not. But
What, do Glovers normally come in?
They usually should. They used to, but we've been slow for a couple weeks now. It's like they're avoiding it or something. I don't know. Maybe they're not hearing about it. It's very strange.
I'll paint some more rocks and throw them around and see if somebody picks it up.
I have a question, if it's okay.
And the best thing is, we'll know if it works, because if they're Icelandic, it's going to be obvious because of the accent.
Hey, I have a question, if it's okay.
Go for it.
So, what were you guys' like biggest proofs that brought you to Flat Earth?
Well,
I guess for me,
a weird experience with it. You can go first. You probably have better acceptance.
I can just say that, I had some things during my childhood and younger adult life that occurred that made me real suspicious that I wasn't getting the full idea of what was going on. One of them was seeing things too far. When I was a kid, it was explained to me that I was seeing mirages. I knew that couldn't be possible because I knew about mirages enough that it didn't make sense, because I had direct access to this place that was showing up. I had traveled from being at the base of it and then coming all the way home and seeing it the whole time on a clear day. So I knew it wasn't a mirage. There was an incident in the Air Force that I had after flying. An emergency landing happened that gave me an indication that something wasn't quite right. We made a stop that shouldn't have occurred on a globe, and I couldn't put it out of my mind. Around, I think I hit it around 2013, 2014. Sometime my son got me on YouTube. I was, at the time, I was homesick with a terminal illness. I had lots of time on my hands to think about things and look at things and consider. And when it came up, I knew where I had gone wrong on this whole thinking the globe was real. I have science degrees behind me, so it wasn't very hard for me to understand what was going on. And I just jumped right into it because, again, it's not hard for me to prove with all the stuff that I had kept back in my mind going, this doesn't make sense. I'd worked with centrifuges even in my career, and I knew I'd never seen anything stick to anything with a centrifuge. And if it got unbalanced, you would know absolutely for sure that there was something wrong. And the globe is not real balanced looking to me, if you look at the size of the oceans and stuff. So there's a lot of things that just kind of clued me in, and I just knew it. So it wasn't more than an hour of a video. And I can't remember which one I watched first. Might have been 200 Proof. It was one that was real common at the time. And yeah, within an hour I knew for certain. And then I just had to go out and prove it again to myself by doing some measurements, doing some long distance stuff.
Was my big one first, and I was still like on the fence. I was arguing with this girl for like a week on Facebook, and I was saying, no, it's round. What are you talking about? And I was, researching and everything, and and she's like, just watch this video, please watch it. And I was already a truther, but I thought, flat Earth was just way too out there. And flat earthers were crazy, and then I watched 200 Proofs, and I was like, well, hold on, like, something's not making sense. And then I was hooked from there, and, just going out with my own camera, out to the lake. We got a lake here called Percy Priest. And there's a spot where you can see about 5 miles, and, to this island, and the island just has the shrub on it. So so you shouldn't be able to see the shrubs, and you were definitely able to see the shrubs. So that did it for me.
So I was brought to Flat Earth whenever I was at my previous job. I was just talking about ancient aliens, and a coworker said, "You probably think the Earth is flat." And I said, "People still think the Earth is flat?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, why do they think that?" And he said, "Because they're stupid." So I went home and I started to look into it because I didn't think that was a very good reason. And there was probably good evidence out there for people to feel this way. And I started researching it, and I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole alone. So I went to my fiance, he's my husband now, and I said, "I think the Earth might be flat, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole by myself." So we both went down it together.
That's an awesome story.
That is the most romantic truther story I've heard yet.
Yes. It's so romantic. Let's hold each other's hands while we jump down this rabbit hole. That's awesome.
Oh, I wish I could find a truther guy like that you could trust to go into like strange truths together with. That's nice.
Well, we always watched conspiracy
That's why
theories.
I threw a ring on that finger.
Well, what got me was the Antarctic. What got me was the Antarctic Treaty and old maps from like the 14th century having Antarctica like circling in. And once I was reading about the treaty and General Byrd, I was just like, okay, like there's some concrete stuff here. We have to research it further. And it's just been awesome learning all the different things that I thought I knew, but I clearly didn't. And I'm like, wow, everything is a lie. It feels like everything's a lie.
You have a really nice voice, by the way.
Who is this that we're talking to? Because I'm driving now, so I can't look at the name. Who is that that just told the story?
Miss Rabbit.
Rabbit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a great story. Thank you for telling it. Yeah, I think Admiral Byrd is a real big piece of evidence that I don't hear discussed enough. I was going to mention that to the other guy who asked about why would they lie, and I was going to, if I get to a stop sign, I'll still put in the live stream the Admiral Byrd interview where he says, and it's recorded on YouTube, his black and white interview where he says that he, when he was exploring Antarctica, saw a landmass the size of the United States beyond Antarctica, and he just says it real casual. You can tell he was like, had the spirit of exploration still. That he was assuming, of course, as anybody would, oh, look at this, I discovered a new land, right? That's just going to become a place where people explore, and of course, then it just kind of got shuffled away into the corners of history, and most people aren't even aware that he ever said that. I didn't know that he had said that until I was introduced to the flat
I'm
Earth.
pretty sure that the video I watched, he had planes fly over to the land and they were crashing into nothing. And I actually recently tried to go back and find this video of him talking about it, and there being pictures of crashed planes, but I couldn't find it. So I'm like, did I hallucinate that, or is it just not easy to find anymore? So I don't know.
It's not easy to find. It's not easy to find. I've actually heard that story. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I never saw the video myself, but I have other friends that said they saw that. And there was some other guy that was telling me that, yeah, he had found some evidence that they had talked about it in some paper somewhere. But, yeah, there's some weird stuff with that. And a lot of it's still classified as far as I know, too. So there might have been some CIA papers. And a lot of those, they disappeared as soon as they put them out. They kind of just disappeared.
And that
a
makes
lot
me
of our
wonder
CIA
even more about the Antarctic.
Show a flat stationary Earth being used. They've hidden.
I also recently saw a pretty interesting video telling a story about a guy who went to one of those research stations in Antarctica, and they were researching this sky ice or blue ice, and it could only be researched there because it had to be so cold to even have it and melt it so easily. And the funny thing is, oxygen is blue when it freezes. So I don't know how much of that is true, but it's definitely interesting stuff,
Yeah, it's blue and it gets almost solid, so it turns into a solid. So who knows? But it's pretty cool.
I actually talked to a minister about it, and he said he had a few people at his church that were flat earthers, and the other people in the church would get very angry with them. And I've noticed that if you bring it up, people get very angry, and I don't understand why. Maybe they don't have an open mind. But this minister, he said he believes at one time the firmament was ice, and it melted, and it's what caused the flood to happen. And I said, well, in order for the firmament to melt, and let's say it's not there anymore, then you have to completely erase everything you thought you knew about space, because it makes no sense on a globe model. And he was like, oh man, you're going to make me research flat Earth again, aren't you? And I was like,
good job, girl.
If you're preaching,
you did good, because that's right.
Yeah, if you're preaching the Bible, you can't just pick and choose what you believe.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
No, and that's the thing. That's the creationists. There's a creationist group, the ones that are geocentric. And there's a big group of them that are associated with debating scientists on the age of the Earth and how fast things happen. But when it comes to flat Earth, none of them will back it up. But they'll come up with this excuse of the melting ice sphere and all kinds of weird excuses that are just as out there as globe. And they won't look at this. They get very angry, get very upset, think we're stupid. I don't know what it is other than wrecking your worldview is really hard on some people. Me, it wasn't that big of a deal. I didn't hold on to that worldview very hard. But some people, yeah, it's almost like, because, I don't know, they just can't let go of this world that they've come up with in their mind, whatever it is. Because most of this globe stuff is all in their head. It's not even real, so it's in their head, and you're taking away their favorite thing. A lot of them love space, and all the movies, and the imagination, and you're taking away their dream world. And I think it's just like in the Matrix movie where you got Cypher, who decides he'd rather kill the state than live in reality. I think a lot of people are like that. They'd rather live a false reality because it's easier.
I don't think that coming to Flat Earth, you can't sit back and still enjoy watching Star Wars. Or, I don't know. That's just how I feel about it. Like, you don't have to sit there and say, oh, I hate Star Wars, it's such a lie. Like, it's always been a lie. Like, you can still enjoy it. I don't know. That's what I try to tell Robbie.
A lot of us do. A lot of us watch that stuff, but we know it's total fantasy. You know it's fantasy at this point. So, and it's okay because it's fantasy. It's
all of it's fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Superman's fantasy, but we still like it.
I think a lot of it is. Go ahead, Nisha.
I just wanted to say that the funny thing is that the Flat Earth thing did ruin sci-fi for me a little bit, because now I know the science better. So when they get their own pseudoscience wrong, it actually bugs me, because I'm like, they're not even doing the pseudoscience wrong. They don't even know their own mainstream science, and they get annoyed for wrong reasons.
Don't worry, I critique medical movies and medical themed shows worse than just about anybody, because as a person who's done that stuff, gone to the medical school stuff, yeah, I have a whole problem even with that. So I do the same thing now with the sci-fi stuff too. Just can't watch it without critiquing it because they're doing it so stupidly.
Yeah, I guess it's anything that you know well enough, then you see it and you know how stupid it is, because it just does not work that way. You're like, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. I'm even about like when you watch comic movies and you've actually read the comics, you can get kind of annoyed. I get moist. I get very like, God damn these bastards.
So I went and I talked to my grandma today thinking that I was going to convince her that the earth was flat. And she already knew. Like, she was like blowing my mind because she was finishing my sentences. And I was just like staring at her in awe. And I said, why didn't you tell me this when I was a little girl? And she said, I didn't know. I didn't read the Bible. I relate everything to the Bible. I don't know. Like, to me, that's my truth. And after coming to this realization that what we are living on or in has been a lie, the Bible makes more sense to me.
And we have no problem with that here. There's a lot of those people. A lot of people who feel that way. Like just like the guy previous to you, he's a Muslim. He feels that it proved his scriptures as well. So that people have to follow their hearts. But if you can prove that it's true, that you've been lied to, that's the best part. It's no longer based in faith. It's based on absolute truth and knowing. It's not just faith. You can still have faith, but it's nice to know some things for certain. Just like I know there's a creator. No doubt about it.
Hey, I wanted to say something on what you guys were saying a minute ago. I think a lot of people are afraid of flat Earth because, like I was afraid of what people would think of me and like going against like what all my friends think and all that stuff and being looked at differently. I think that's a big thing, is because that was the biggest thing for me. Is like, what are my friends going to think? Like, everybody's going to think I'm crazy. I'm a freaking flat earther, like.
Well, this is the difference between somebody who's, in groupthink, right? And We see so many people like this. They double and triple down when the facts are literally presented to them. They double and triple down and like refuse to admit that they are wrong and will just continue to lie. And that's the whole groupthink mentality. When you see somebody that no matter what, like, it's like, oh, this might actually suck and I might be afraid to like talk about it. But I know that it's true. And if I'm confronted with it, I'm going to show these facts to these people because I'm not going to allow them to bully me into this groupthink mentality of lies that they are trying to, you know, I don't know. The whole capitulating to the mob has never been my MO. Like, I just refuse to capitulate to them. So it's really good to see people when they are willing to stand up for that. And even if it is as humble as just saying, well, how do you know that? Well, what about this, right? Just even if it's something as simple as that, people don't have to go out and, you know, scream it from the rooftops. But even just in day-to-day conversation, just testing people on what they think is a fact when in fact it's not.
Yeah, see, like I've always been a people pleaser. So it was, like I said, like, so the first 2 years I was a closet flat earther, but now, like, it's like I scream it from the rooftops. Like, I let everybody at work thinks I'm crazy, except for, you know, there's 2 other people at work that are, well, now it's one, the other guy moved, but so there's me and one other guy that know the earth is flat, and so everybody else thinks I'm crazy. And I'm just like, whatever, you know. I mean, like, just look into it, man. Just look into it.
Well, that's why the cost versus benefit, like I said, you know, everybody lies for a reason, and it usually has to do with a benefit. Well, benefit of being part of the group is a huge play in all of these things. Absolutely. But it also costs you who you are. If you don't live with the truth, if you can't face the truth, you can't really be free in yourself. You can't be okay by yourself. It means you have to have the group to approve of everything you think of, including that you think the earth is a certain shape or not. It'll cost you something in your soul that you can't replace. So, to me, being a truther about all things is so vital to me because I will give up every friendship in the world if I have to stay in the truth. If somebody doesn't want to be okay with me having that kind of opinion about what I see as truth, well, not mine. I gained something from it. So, but a lot of people feel that if they lose friends or they get mocked or whatever, that costs them too much to even do it. So they'll hide. They'll pretend it never happened, or the truth. It's that whole cipher thing. You know, what do you really want? What do you want? You know, in the very end game, is the truth going to matter in the end? I think it does. That's just my personal opinion, though.
Truth always matters. Truth prevails always matters as well. But yeah, I wanted to add to that a little bit.
Does.
That was a good one. Even if I say so myself. Almost forgot what I was going to say because I was smiling so hard at my own joke. Okay, I was going to say something about what you were saying, but now I forgot, so just keep.
Just that I think the truth sets you free in a way that you can't ever get even from the group think or group being part of a group. Can you be free in yourself? Because that's what the government's taking from us right now is our ability to be free completely. Well, when it gets down to what really makes you free, I don't think living a lie is free.
Oh yeah, now I remember what I was going to say. It was about the whole afraid to tell your friends and stuff. Because for the first, like, maybe a couple of years myself, I didn't talk much about this because I didn't feel confident going into it until I felt like I could explain things and all that and answer questions. But at the same time, when it comes to friends and stuff, you can always just start with small little things like implying and talking about this. Like, oh, did you know there's no scientific evidence for this? I just found that out. That's super weird. And then that evolves into, you know, I went onto this Discord to talk to these flat earthers, which is all true. It's just how you frame it, you know? And then you're like, did you know this? And you can kind of bring them along on a second ride to try to get them to realize. And if they're not cool about it and they freak out on you, they're not very good friends. Because you're going to just take the, hey, You don't agree with me. If you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. We don't have to talk about it. We just be friends. Don't talk about this. And if they still don't let it go, they're just, well, kind of a-holes. So are they good guys to be hanging around?
So hey, can I tune in real quick?
I'm sorry, I missed that. What did you say?
I said, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So remember, I told you I was arguing with a guy at work about it. His name's Jake. Well, he's completely a Glober. He spent his whole weekend trying to watching basically YouTube videos on like globe Earth proofs and everything, and it was just funny that like literally like he was trying to explain to me, you know, how the Earth is definitely scientifically round. There's no other way it could be, but I actually knew more about his globe than he knew. And I pointed that out to him, and I told him so many proofs and everything, and he still just. And then like he would go on Facebook and bash me about it, and then like I would just post proof after proof after proof, and like things like the whole reason they say it's pear shaped is because circumnavigation takes longer south of the equator. Like they never said it was pear shaped until flat earthers were saying it takes longer south of the equator. So there was a bunch of stuff, but it was just like you were saying, like they double down and triple down, like they just try their hardest, and it's just he's one of those people that is never going to come to flat Earth but I mean he believes in like certain other truths, but for some reason he doesn't think that NASA is lying to him, and it boggles my mind.
What's up with Australia and the rules?
It makes me wish that Australia is watching what's happening in Australia right now. Heart wrenching. I feel for them.
Maybe is this person asking why you're not?
Yeah.
The part about
Why
the
is it in the rules? Yeah, what is that? It's not real.
I think that's some kind of trope that existed in the past. That was some kind of straw man thing about the flat Earth. That is one of those claims like we never actually made, but some people used to make to portray flat earthers as being silly, as saying Australia doesn't exist. I'm pretty sure that's the reason, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, birds aren't real. Australia isn't real. Like all these silly little things to make people who are supposedly conspiracy theorists, which I think we should be called I told you so's, look like we're idiots, right? But again, I wish that Australia wasn't real, looking at what is going on in that country right now. I mean, they're very flat.
I think that they're like testing it in Australia, and they're trying to see what'll happen if they could maybe move it over here and then to Europe and all that.
Yeah, so with flat Earth, it's I think that's true, like you said, about just general conspiracy theories, is that they try to make it look silly by inserting these false narratives into it, because obviously the powers that shouldn't be know that the so-called conspiracy theories are the ones who are leading people away from the mainstream robotic narrative that is devoid of evidence, especially in the case of the globe. So they have to do something to discredit those people ahead of time. So that's what I think, the Australia thing, the birds thing, it's just all part of their psyop to insert false narratives into the conversation, which I think they're more subtle about it now. I don't even think people do that anymore. I think the way they insert false narratives and discredit flat Earth, for example, is much more subtle than it used to be. They've had to become more subtle because our arguments are getting better, and the debate was lost by the globe side long ago. They don't have a debate, as we mentioned earlier, so all they have are tactics. So they've had a lot of time to dedicate to these tactics because they don't actually have a globe model that holds up to any kind of tiny little scrutiny, so they have to do these tactics, and their tactics are just getting more subtle, to the point where some of those old things, I mean, they're rules because they used to be an issue, but these days their ways of discrediting flat Earth are much more subtle than that, aren't they?
That makes sense. I was like, is Australia not real? Am I missing something?
Yeah, because it sounds like you found some pretty good information early on, like you never got led down the Flat Earth Society rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Did you ever have any exposure to them?
No.
That's good. Yeah. Because I think it's similar to that, how they come up with this straw man model of a disc flying through space. And a lot of people, they did what they set out to do, which was to create an organization that would turn Flat Earth into a joke, that would be considered to be the official voice of Flat Earth, so that anyone looking into it would run into this ridiculous organization that has nothing to do with the real observation and measurement that shows the globe is an obvious lie. So those people that come up with this flying disc model, especially with the teenager types that come in here, like that's what they have in their head, is this disc flying through space, that they think that's what we think. So yeah, that definitely worked.
Because that's all they have on YouTube is all that. Like, that's where they all get their facts, is YouTube. And that's literally all they have on there is that model, they're
Wow, the
saying
full
that's
moon.
what we
I'm
believe.
sorry to interrupt. I just saw the full moon for the first time tonight. Wow, it's so beautiful. I'm just driving here. I'm driving west. Yeah, it's kind of in the southwest. No, I'm driving east. I'm sorry. It's in the northeast. Totally opposite of what I just said.
I'm horrible with directions. With directions, I'm like, wait, where
I'm
is
on
it?
the highway, so I'm either going east
happened.
or west. And I sometimes I forget if I'm coming or going because I go back and forth so much. Yeah.
Well, I'm in California, so I'm excited to see it tonight. It is kind of overcast here.
I thought it would be here because it was earlier, but yeah, it's totally clear right where it is there. There's clouds around it, kind of. Yeah, it looks really pretty.
Yeah, I would say it is quite conspicuous how the word flat Earth has been mentioned by very high-profile politicians. I think it's only the Yank politicians that I've heard, and Obama himself. And if I had to explain all of this to somebody at this point, I would go straight to, the fiat currencies, the one world order. All these lies in succession, the really big ones, 9/11, weapons of mass destruction, the whole destabilization of the Middle East. The fiat currencies have to go. So they're going to bring in the New World Order, which Australia is experiencing right now, the first taste of, with quarantine camps already, double electrified fences. There's lighting everywhere. There's no escaping. It's like a concentration camp. But this is all about the world's finances. It's about nothing else. I can't see another logical reason why there's this panic from, the people who are wanting to bring in a great reset, wanting to build back better, and saying that we all need one religion, one currency, and one world government. It's all about hiding the fact that they have been stealing money, that they have been using usury against us, that they have been taxing us beyond our limits, that they've squandered so much. And NASA is really at the top there, the kind of money that they have walked away with. So if Flat Earth were to be revealed, I mean, there's going to be hell to pay. That for me is their prime motivation. It's not about reasons that we can't discern. Why are they behaving like this? Why are they being so cruel? And look at what they are doing to people at the moment. It is despicable. The world has become so corrupt. So corrupt. And I really think Flat Earth is like a linchpin. If it became common knowledge, then people, would finally wake up to everything. It would be like a big truth bomb going off.
Yeah, but we have to be careful about who sets off that truth bomb because of the Hegelian dialectic. We know for the last 2 years, we've known from the beginning, it's a problem, reaction, solution thing. I think they underestimated the amount of pushback they would be. They got to, right? It's shocking, how people are just being led to the slaughter, right? Because I think they expected a bigger rebellion sooner. Because you see, even truth people will believe that someone like Rand Paul is on their side just because he makes a little speech going against their stuff or whatever. And he's one of the ones up there making fun of Rand Paul is. So come on, guys. If any person involved in this government, and I'm talking about the United States of America, especially somebody who's one of that 100 senators club, comes out and says anything that you think they're suddenly leading our side, please. There's not going to be any savior in any official mafia government institution. All those people are bought, sold, and paid for before they even make it into the U.S. Capitol building for the first time. So please, people, we will not be having a savior from that realm. Come on. I don't care how beautiful their speech is. People were fooled by Trump. Yeah, and now they're fooled by this Rand Paul dude. I mean, yeah, I was into his father. I get the feeling, especially if you're younger. I was fooled by his dad, Ron Paul. But come on, guys, come on. Yeah, they're going to have a solution oh, no, we've been oppressed by these mandates. I'm here to save you. I mean, please, let's not fall for that. That's all I have to say about it.
Preach.
And the stay that the DOJ has just put on the mandate, for the magic elixir that goes in your arm. I mean, that's just more bullshit. That's just a temporary, a thing like a carrot, a stick, we'll give them this carrot for a little while. And
so we just have to walk out. We don't give that fake system any attention by saying the solution is going to come from there. I mean, you can let the little, Trump 24ites, or, the people who are looking for the religious exemptions, that's fine. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, aborted fetal cells is bad. Yes, yes, yes. But all those people are still just willing to accept this paradigm. They're just waiting for it to go back to normal, just like you were talking about the Christians who will go part of the way down the road. They'll say, oh, yes, dinosaurs didn't exist. The earth is young. That's like standing up against this world, to some extent, but we don't want to be too uncomfortable. We don't want to get to the real crux of the matter, which is the globe lie. And so we're just going to quietly sit here in our little institutions, because they've created institutions for those people to be comfortable in. The Creation Museum, the big names in the, so-called creation science movement. It's like those people don't have to stand up and be alone and be the only person in their friends group or family group or general geographic area who's saying, no, that's not how it is. There is no globe. Those people are afraid to stand alone. That's why they create these little fake, PSYOP organizations, because
basically people want somebody else to tell them what to do. So they'll create little semi-revolutionary little things so people still have someone to follow. No, you don't need to follow anybody. Follow your creator would be my recommendation, but you don't need to follow any man. There's no man that's going to save you. Know enough in your heart that you can stand up to anything, and you can walk the barren desert and you shall not die of thirst, and you can wander far in safety though you do not know the way, and you can speak your words in foreign lands and all will understand. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, it's hard to especially when you're going on the internet and looking at various topics, the absolute state of ignorance that people are in. I don't really know if there is a cure for that. It's going to have to be a sharp shock to wake people up. I don't know. Personally, from last year, finding myself in a position where I was formulating this idea that, oh my God, the world's not what I thought it was. In the midst of everything else that's going on, and trying to, as Lao Tzu said, know your enemy. I mean, I think, there are very tough times ahead for all of us, no matter where we are.
I agree with that. And I also think that there's something to be said. Like, there's this, complete opposite dichotomy that's going on, right? You have people that are crazy and wild and will do anything and create protests and riots and the mob, right? This mob that people are continuously capitulating to, and it creates this this entire snowball of people actually in the governments, using this and using the people to get what they want. Where people that actually are honest and truthful and logical, they're not going to go out and do that. So it is a long haul ahead of us, right? Like, we're not going to go down and burn cities or do anything to do anything that's going to be harmful in that way. You know what I mean? We will protest and, people will do things like that, but it's not going to be to the degree that this other side that is, the squeaky wheel gets the oil kind of a thing. So I think that there is a long road ahead, but because we're doing it justifiably and righteously, I think that we will prevail in the end, because we are not breaking the law or doing something horrible to be heard or to get things done. I think that the truth always prevails, and then it takes longer, and it's patient and it's kind, and it is going to be quite a struggle, but I do still have faith that it will win.
I can't really say that I agree.
That's fine. You don't have to. I would like to hear why you don't.
Most Christians today are waiting for their savior in the form of a Messiah who's going to come and intervene in everything that's going on. And I was for many years in a very strict religious order, and I find myself finding out that the earth is actually not a ball, and then having a crisis in my religious view of, where do I belong? With a Protestant background, and I just think the evil that I now see in these people, it just takes my breath away. I tend to be. I'm becoming more nihilistic by the hour, I think.
Well, yeah, you can see, like, I mean, I was thinking about this just the other day. It's like, well, you can see how, this is what free will has led to, right? There's certain people who are taking their free will to the max and therefore like interfering with everyone else's free will, just becoming like the most controlling, the most evil. You guys can fight with me if you want, because I noticed the people who still believe in the government. I've had this debate with just people in my regular life. They don't want to say that this is the worst, the darkest it's been, because they want to say, oh, no, back in Rome, they were doing this thing or that thing, or back in World War II, they were doing this thing or that thing. Yeah, that's what they tell you they were doing, because that's all part of the predictive programming. It's always part of the control. It's like, oh, back in history, look what people did. We never want to go back to that. Oh, did they really do those things? Because I've never seen people act worse than I'm seeing them act right now. I've never seen it in my life. I've seen it degrade to this point in the decades I've been here on the earth. So I'm not, why should I believe you guys, the people in charge, who are telling me, it's been worse before? Because I think it's at the max here. So if we're talking, like you said, a lot of people believe, oh, this is the mercy phase where because people have free will, they're just being allowed to like take it to its natural conclusion. It's like, yeah. So the natural conclusion is going to be like, yeah, we're just standing here alone in truth while we just watch everyone around us destroy themselves voluntarily, while a bunch of people at the top are just like laughing their way to the bank. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I don't know where it's headed. Somebody's got a plan going on. Like, I'd like to see it, come to fruition. That'd be cool. But otherwise, I'll just hang out here and watch all the people around me make horrible life choices, not willing to listen to anything you have to say, not willing to hear the truth, not willing to hear logic, and so on. I'll try to keep my children, alive and healthy and, somewhat having a decent life as long as I possibly can. But come on. I mean, this is getting ridiculous. It's ridiculous. If we want to make a point here about, when people have free will to do whatever they want, run all over people, this is where it leads. Like, I got the point. I'm not going to let anyone forget. Don't worry.
Yeah, I think we have reached saturation as far as the evil that men do. I don't know. I saw two ladies in the USA. They were having an argument about getting access to this one lady's shop. She was the proprietress, and they ended up in hand-to-hand combat. And I felt sorry for the woman who was being attacked. She wouldn't let her in because she wasn't wearing a face covering. But I also feel for the woman who had this outburst, because I think that she's been brainwashed. I didn't particularly feel that she was an evil person. I feel a kind of empathy for her. She's in like a hysterical, psychotic state, driven by fear, or the conviction that she has to do certain things so that she can be able to survive. That her survival is under threat. It's absolutely surreal.
Yeah, and I guess you get pushed to that point because it's easy when you're not actually at that point, just thinking of it in theory. It's easier to just say, well, that you won't get pushed to that point because you don't want to compromise whatever line you've drawn, and with your ethics and so on. But yeah, it's hard to know, when you actually get pushed to that point, because people are very fear driven when they don't even have anything actually threatening them, right? Everything is imaginary and visible, and they're still just running around like chicken with their head cut off, So that's the thing. I mean, I think those of us who can see things more logically, like I remember, 2 years ago thinking, oh my gosh, I am going to be like the only person around here who's going to keep a clear head. How am I going to handle that responsibility? But 2 years later, I'm like, I'm handling it. I'm still here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I think we just have to accept, like, for whatever reason, we are saddled with this responsibility, whether it's because events in our lives have made us strong enough to handle it, or, not necessarily because you want it. but you're just stuck with it. And, and you see people kind of turning to you, even though you don't necessarily want people to do that, because, like I said, it's a lot of responsibility, or other people won't turn to you. They'll run from you as fast as they possibly can. Yeah, right. Because they're still waiting for the government to save them. And they actually think that's going to happen. And like we discussed at the beginning of this, with Drace and Karma's song, not everyone wants to hear that, their Stockholm Syndrome kidnapper, captive, captor is a bad guy. A lot of people want to say, what are you talking about? They just sent me a check for $1,200 and they give me food. And if I can't work, they send me more checks. Like, what do you mean they're bad?
Yeah. Yeah, you summarized it very well. Yeah, I do hear things, and then I think, oh well, there are a few good men, but I think all in all, I just think the common man, the people who are not in high positions of power, we have just all been so deceived for such a long time. And once you see the globe Earth deception, which for me peculiarly, I just saw what NASA was up to, really, and Elon Musk, and I didn't even grasp any of the science. I had no idea, that there was real science to back up the flat Earth. I didn't have an inkling. But when I realized that there was some deception underfoot, I intuitively understood what was going on. So I also battle with people in my friend circle, people in my family, because I think it's imperative that people find out about this situation that we find ourselves in. And it's really difficult. If you've been a flat earther for a while, but if you're not, and somebody says, oh, you're spouting conspiracy theories because you must be a flat earther, it is such a ridiculous notion when you know nothing, when you know absolutely nothing. You think to yourself, that is just ridiculous beyond words. But it takes such a short time to look at everything and to come to a better understanding. That doesn't take any time at all. For me, it did take a while, but I was really busy. I was working full time. I was doing a lot of other things. But I would say in a day or less, you can show somebody exactly, what the truth is, the reality, the measurable, what you can perceive, what you can prove.
Right, yeah, if they're willing. I mean, but if they want to stay in the globe cult, which many people want to stay in the globe cult, they'll just go search something and find somebody who tells them refraction. That's your abracadabra right there, and just erase everything Ariel just said, because I said the word refraction, even though I don't know how, the debunker, I'm saying the debunker doesn't know how it works, inaccurately portrays it, can't draw us a ray diagram of how that actually works, but they just say the magic word, and then yay, I don't have to worry about what Ariel said because refraction. Thank the Lord. I mean, that is what we're dealing with. So it hasn't, to me, it has never been more clear, but I have people in my life, like a lot of my friends, that I tried to explain about all of this, they don't actually argue with me. They just kind of don't respond. It's kind of like, hey, whatever, and so I think that's just the way it is. I mean, people just either consciously or subconsciously, just like we talked about, they don't really want to leave the system, even though some of these people kind of are bucking the system. They're kind of countercultural people. And by countercultural people, I mean extremely traditional people, because that is what countercultural is. People have big families and so on. But they still, I think, are like hearken toward the past, which is what I used to do. I used to think, oh yeah, like when I was born, even like when I was young, I was obsessed with Little House on the Prairie. I was like, gosh, I would have loved to live in the pioneer times. That seems so much better. They just like ran around outside all day and cooked stuff, like that sounded like paradise to me. You know what I mean? But now I'm not like that anymore because I realize no matter what happened back then, it was always leading toward this. So I'd rather just get this over with. If there's something on the other side, that'd be cool. Like I no longer want to go back. But I notice a lot of other people are thinking they can bring back, the past or traditional values or Western civilization, existing or, a community that you could send your kids to school and actually your children to school and actually think, oh, they're actually going to learn how to read and write and be good people. Wouldn't that be fun? Like people think that can come back. And I'm not saying it can't, but it can't come back within the system that we have. That has to be completely taken away before anything could be built again. Some people think it can still be fixed, and that's the people you can't reason with. I think that's why you can't reason with them, because you can't see the core lies in this, the globe lie. If you aren't willing to go down that road and, like we said, stand up for truth, no matter how much people make fun of you, because it's all organized around that. If you aren't willing to stand alone in the truth, then they are just going to stay in the system, no matter how much they pretend or think that they are, countercultural. It's fine. They can maintain their little delusion within their family or whatever they want, but they're not ready to deal with it. And that's just the way it is. We are a minority, and we just have to accept that. I mean, don't we see that every day? It's like 1 out of every 100 people that come in here is actually willing to hear the truth. If even that, maybe that's too generous. I don't know.
I also want to say something based on what Ariel was saying. Because the globe zealots, or the ones that are like, anything out of the mainstream is conspiracy theories. Those types that actually call other people flat earthers when they start bringing out science and research and stuff like that. They push those kind of intellectual people that do the research towards flat earth. Like, I remember watching a video with Trace, I think it was a senator or congressman or something, who was like talking about natural immunities. And he was getting really upset because people kept calling him a flat earther because he was like bringing up studies and actual science. And then people would be like, oh, you sound like a flat earther. And that made me laugh my ass off.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's like, flat earther for some of these people, if they've been exposed to the real argument at all, it's synonymous with like, oh, they're just way too complicated. It's all over my head. And they'll even acknowledge it. Have you had people? I've had like several young people that'll be like, oh, you're just saying words to try to sound smart. It's like, and I know I'm making like a completely coherent argument. They just can't, they like literally cannot comprehend it, because they haven't been properly educated. I mean, that's the obvious reason. But they are recognizing, Karma, like you said, that there is something there. They just aren't ready to understand it. And maybe like, I want to find these, children's book that Shine was talking about earlier. I guess that Eric Dubay put out some children's book, because maybe some of these people, even if they're teenagers, or adults, maybe they need to, look at it at a more basic kind of childlike level. Maybe, And I try to do that if I recognize that the person is that way. But I think sometimes after you've been in it for a while, it's like hard to get back to that level. I don't know. I should work on it. Some people here are better at it than I am, for sure. Ildiko's really good at just keeping it real basic. I don't know where she is. I haven't seen her for a while.
Well, it looks like it's not even online anymore. I just tried to put up The Earth Plane by Eric Dubay. It's on Archive. That was the only link that popped up for it. So I'm not even sure if it's sold anywhere anymore, or if this is the only place you can read it, but you can read it on there. You got it.
It'd be nice to have a physical copy of it, but I'll at least look at it there.
What are you looking for?
You can always print it out.
That's true. Yep, I can do that. Yep, I just got a new printer. My new printer is like the cheapest printer ever. It's so much better than my old printer. My old printer was like $400, and the ink was like outrageously expensive. Plus, the stupid computer kept telling me that I was out of ink when I wasn't. So I got this one for $100, brother. It is so much better than my old one. My goodness! So now I can actually print things. It's very exciting. So I could print it. You're right.
What is
I found it.
Eric Debase that you're looking for?
Mine still doesn't work. I've been trying to use it for months, but every time I try it, was like, "Oh, I can't connect with your router. I can't see it. Oh, I see it. No, I can't see it. I can see it. Oh, I still don't see it. It just fucks with me."
You understand my world then. That was how I was for months. And I need to print stuff for the boys and stuff. I'm like, okay, we'll just sit here and like write stuff out on a piece of paper that we need. You know, we were like back in the Stone Age. And then I got this printer for like the price it used to cost me just to buy toner. Like, never am I buying a fancy printer again. I just keep buying cheap ones, right? Even if they fail.
What's the
Cheaper
name
than
of the
buying
printer?
toner.
The toner thing is a scam because they always put like extra colors into the black just to waste your colors.
They
And then as soon as
absolutely
that
do.
one color is over, they're gonna be like, "Oh, I need a new one."
They're the worst. This one was called like Brother Inkvestment. I think Brother is like capitalizing on people getting sick of the HP scam and all that. So yeah, Brother is like putting out cheap printers with cheap toner. Highly recommended. I will never go back to the HP after. And I had an hour on the phone with one of those tech people who did send me free ink, admitting it was a scam. But what am I supposed to talk to them on a phone for an hour and like put all this documentation in every time they scam me? No, I'm just throwing your thing in the trash like Office Space. I should go out there and hammer it with a sledgehammer.
Yeah, it could be cathartic. Just get rid of all that pent up frustration that he's got.
Absolutely, it has. Yeah, I should have all the boys help me because they, for years, I'm sorry, not years, I'm exaggerating, months, they couldn't print any of their stuff. Ooh, she found it. Shine's found the book on Amazon.
Yeah, I saw it.
The Earth Plane. Cool. Oh my gosh, I totally got to look for that.
Hey, ladies, can I ask you a question real quick? I know it's ladies' night, but I'd like to ask you guys a question and get like a female's perspective on how you guys feel about where we are and living on a flat Earth and being a woman. What that's like, especially with you guys being able to be the only people on the planet to have babies and raise babies, and what it's like to with that experience in correlation with the flat Earth, and then the lie that we live under. How you guys feel about that when you're having kids or raising children, like from a woman's perspective. I'd really like to hear how you guys feel about that sort of stuff, if it's okay for me to ask right now.
I have a son. He's never been vaccinated. He's never celebrated Christmas. I never told him about the Easter Bunny. We don't celebrate Halloween. We do not do any of that. He has never experienced any of that. He's the most level-headed, most healthy individual that I know on this flat plane. It's you pour yourself into your children. You are growing them like little trees, and you bend them to your will. And if that is your will, and you you know, that confidence, you instill that in your child, because that's what the truth gives you. That's all I'm going to say.
Were you raised that way without those holidays and stuff? Were you raised the same way?
I was raised that way from the age of 10. There was a big event in our lives for religious reasons, basically. And so when I had a child, you know, I just took that forward. If that is all they know, you know, that they can go among their peers. I mean, children don't tend to talk about whether the Earth's a ball or whether it's flat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think that deepens your connection with your child, knowing the truth of our reality and stuff? Do you think that's? I wonder. I think sometimes I wonder if that's even stronger with women than it is for men.
It would be hard to compare since we've only been women, so we wouldn't know how deep it would be for a man. But I know that my mom was a bit of a truther, and it does keep us connected as well. Because if you become a truther and your parent is not, it can make like a disconnect because you can't talk about things that might be important to you.
That's true.
But I think it also it's important to teach critical thinking, and this shows how much logic can help you. And once you realize with like flat Earth, because especially we're very logic driven here in this Discord, I think it emphasizes how important it is to teach them logic at an early age, because people who know logic have an easier time dealing with these types of things rather than the ones that get caught up in the brainwashing even more because they're emotion based in their thinking.
What was this question about? What's different for women than men?
What's it like being a woman on Flat Earth?
Oh, that just a general. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought it was about a specific thing. Yeah, I think with Karma, how would we know? But you know what? I do think that one thing that is not frequently talked about in the world today, because everybody's trying to be all gender neutral. I mean, used to be, when I was growing up, it was just kind of accepted, like, Mother Earth is feminine, the sky and space, that's all masculine stuff. And I think that's still true. Like, the science fiction stuff, the outer space stuff, even though they try to push it now, like, oh, now the women are going to space. Oh, isn't that wonderful? That's only because of the whole push they're doing in general to try to, erase any kind of actual differences. Whereas obviously we're different. I mean, I actually have to say that. And that's, I guess, controversial to say, obviously people with XX chromosomes are different than people with XY chromosomes for obvious reasons. I mean, come on. Like, that's me to say that. That's like, is that a weird thing to say? I'm like, what is going on in this world? But anyway, I think we should be, in theory, more in touch with the flat Earth than men, even though there's fewer women in flat Earth. And I think part of that reason is because it is, I mean, are we really debating the Earth? No, we're talking about your stupid outer space sci-fi fantasies that you're trying to shove down our throat as reality. So even though we love to talk about the earth and the soil and how much better your garden can be if you improve the soil with organic ways and keep those disgusting chemicals out of it that kill everything, including your soil, or we'd like to talk about the birds or the animals or, the plants and so on. We're stuck here talking about your stupid ball fantasies every day. So you want to know why there's not so many women in flat Earth? Because you guys don't even talk about the Earth half the time. You talk about your stupid science fiction dream. Not the flat Earth people. I'm not talking to you guys. I'm talking to the globe pushers that come in here that are obsessed with space. It's boring. I don't want to sit here, and I will if you force me to sit here and argue with you about, the second law of thermodynamics, how you can't have gas pressure out of container, how you can't have, the supposed medium space outside of the atmosphere. If you insist on discussing these things that should be plain as the nose on your face, but half the people, especially the globe heads we used to get in here, like Zanuck and stuff, would sit here for 3 hours reading the science glossary. It's like, yeah, let's just get past the glossary and let's start applying stuff to the real world and the earth around us. I mean, I think that's why Ladies' Night is a great thing, because we do we talk these globe pushers when they come in, but we also talk about like what's happening on the earth where we actually live, not in your television screen. So, I mean, and I did want to say earlier, I understand what Mrs. Rabbit was saying. She's here. She's like, yeah, you can still watch science fiction if you want, if you recognize it and so on, like the Star Wars. Yeah, and some people who are flat earthers are Star Wars fans. But like, that one in particular is obviously a psyop upon this world, to try to get people looking out, other places instead of what's really right in front of you. Plus that stupid Yoda lie. I can't stand that do or do not, there is no try thing. That's part of the reason why I think you've got people running around like that's just like a recipe for
failure and like lack of self-esteem in children if you run around thinking I can't try, I have to either be perfect or not do it at all. That's like the worst advice on earth. You got people running around acting like that's some great wisdom from on high because this little green guy in a movie said it. I mean, that is nonsense. There is some science fiction that's good, but Star Wars is not one of them. All right, I got my rant out.
I recommend
Absolutely beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful. I absolutely love that.
Thank
I think
you.
it's always good to have more points of view. Nothing wrong with it at all.
Yeah, I would hate to hear Dandelion break out like in full sarcasm mode.
Well, and I really
It
appreciate
happens
Ladies
sometimes,
Night
not too
because,
often.
like you said, we are as similar as we are very different, and we approach everything that we run into in our daily lives a different way, and we think differently, we feel differently. So I love hearing from the ladies and hearing how they feel and what they observe, because there's certain things that I will never understand. Like I can never understand the idea of carrying a human inside me and giving birth. The whole idea is crazy to me. So I love hearing your guys' experience and having that with also knowing the truth about where we are. And it's almost like I wonder if some people that aren't very spiritual in the beginning, but then when they realize the truth about flat Earth and wake up, and then does that deepen their connection and maybe even become more spiritual with the whole child thing and nature? You know what I mean? That stuff fascinates me, and I love hearing from you guys.
Yeah, that's another point she brought up too about the space thing. Like, it's from the past to now. How many ladies have been like the archetype for like space? Anything for like, even like measure anything. It's all been like male stuff. All of it. Every drop.
Also because it's a very masculine thing, like she said.
It's
Women
phallic.
also go for more the caring, nurturing jobs, and we have less males in that.
It's
And there are
horrible.
more engineers that are men. This is just natural because we have different ways of
Yeah,
thinking.
I think
and
part of it is because, like,
I think there's something to be said
when
for it.
we want to control things, we always want to be in control and try to control our environment and where we're at. We always want to be in control.
anyone wants
Whereas,
that too.
okay,
Yeah, so if you can't control the earth, where do
Question
you
how
go?
masculine or feminine you are, I think. It's not just gender.
okay. See,
Are we
yeah,
the
yeah.
modern day tree huggers?
Yeah. I'll just say this
Like
one thing and then I'll step back out. Sorry to interrupt you guys and dolls. Sorry to interrupt you guys and dolls. I'm rather disappointed that women are entering this space and science and then perpetuating the lie, and also when they entered the military wanting to kill in a war. I'd hate that. Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, but that also speaks to what I was talking about. When women get overly masculine or men get overly feminine, they tend to become, should I say, a lesser version of themselves because they're not being true to their nature. For instance, seen a great video with Trace. What was the guy called with the lady who was too masculine and then he fixed her in like a minute and her whole demeanor changed? Robin Patterson. What was it called? Robinson something. The guy who kept appearing on Oprah back in the day. Robinson something. But
I see his face.
yeah, I see his face, but that's not helping. Anthony Robinson, maybe? I don't know. Either way, doesn't matter. No, man, sorry. So anyway, for instance, when men are too feminine, they act like gammas. And when women are too masculine, they act like butch bitches. If you know what I mean. Just archetypes.
Yep.
Yeah, metrosexuals and harpies.
And when they find their balance again and balance out that and find and nurture their femininity or masculinity, they actually become more balanced and healthy individuals afterwards, and it's obvious.
Right, because that's completely unnatural for a man or woman to be that way, right? So, and that's almost because that's not something that's in us from when we're born. That's something that we're taught in a way or brainwashed with, isn't it? Isn't that from growing up in the lie that we are all brought up in?
Well, I think it's because everybody has a spectrum of this. You can have healthily masculine women who are like just assertive and maybe confident leaders or very alpha female, but it's always about pushing things into extremes. You see this with everything they do. They always push it to the extreme. And it's the same with this. They push the men to be too feminine and they push the women to be too masculine, and then they try to make a divide between them.
Right. it's kind of a scary thought too. If you think about today, the society we live in today, where if you have a girl that's what we used to call in the old days a tomboy, um, I wonder if girls today that are seen as tomboys when they're young, if they start getting influenced by people around them and push them into, maybe being a lesbian or being, something that they're not. And I wonder how strong of an influence that is to actually kind of screw up their mind and really screw up with their identity. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? You see where I'm going with that?
Yeah, well, they also, I mean, not only
That's why
that,
it's so important to have good role models around them. This is why what role models your child has is super important. That's why it's also important to talk to the children, because I worked with kids for a long time, and we also have super awareness about these kinds of things where we don't want to push the bad gender stereotypes. Like, for instance, you see the thing where it's like throw like a girl, where it would actually, I've seen videos where you look into this and teenagers would throw wimpily when they're asked to throw like a girl. But you ask a small child, like a 6 or 9-year-old, to throw like a girl, and she will throw as hard as she can because she still thinks girls are strong. It's a lot of the mainstream pushes maybe this whole like, oh, weak and cutesy and other stuff and stupid stereotypes that aren't very good. But if you have a good role model around that child, a strong woman who's not afraid to be soft, then they'll be like, I know I'm strong. I'm going to throw this ball as hard as I fucking can, and then I'm going to look really cute doing it. You know what I mean? It's all about confidence without undermining them.
that is such a good point. Yeah, and I also think just like I think that it used to be that mother or wife and mother was an acceptable occupation for a girl to aspire to. And it wouldn't matter if you were, strong or weak or whatever. Like you could be obviously, a person can be a strong personality and be a mother. But like, I know when I was young, they asked at school, what do you want to be? I said, I want to be a mother. I'm going to be a mother with 12 children. And then people were like, oh, no, you can't pick that. You got to pick like a thing where you get paid. And now, in my work, like just a couple weeks ago, it was the question, to start this Zoom meeting was like, what did you want to be when you were a child? And all the people said all their things that were all, paid occupations. And I put down, I wanted to be a mother. I mean, but nobody else said that because nowadays it's even worse. Like, can you imagine a young girl saying, people that I know, like children of my daughters of some of my friends would say that. But like, I think in the wider world, like that would be very rare for anyone to just think that that is aspiring as a vocation when that used to just be the norm,
And this is a very
My mom
important
was
role
like that
too.
so
It's
much
sad
that
that
she
it.
used,
Oh,
when
I'm
she was
sorry.
8, she would walk around and knock on doors where they had baby carriages and ask if she could take the baby for a walk or babysit for them. And because we had such a nice community going then, before immigration, there wasn't any crime or murder, so people would just be like, oh, a strange child wants to walk my baby? Go ahead. I've never seen you before, child, but you look responsible.
That was a really good point that you brought up, though, about aspiring to be a stay-at-home mom and raising kids and stuff. Because I feel like years ago that was encouraged and it was okay to say that, and it was reinforced and it was a good thing. But now they've turned that around and made it negative. That somehow that's bad.
I think it also depends on the community. For instance, where I live, that's not nobody looks down on that really. But for instance, I would love to be a stay-at-home mom or work part-time, just if you have a passion, if you have a good husband to rely on. But not everybody can do that, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, and with the way that things are with like economy and stuff these days, it's really hard for families to survive on one income. It can be challenging.
Especially if you're an entrepreneur or an independent business owner. And
Which, as we know, is all done. It's all done on purpose. They do that on purpose so that they don't want us. They don't want women in the household to take care of the babies and raise them. They want to raise them. Then they want them in their public schools.
That's also why they split up the family unit. You don't want the grandparents imparting wisdom. They wanted to shorten the 3-generation gap of indoctrination by having it only 2 generations because the old people are in the old people home now.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're so right.
Oh, and by the way, the role model thing, I wanted to mention a really important thing to anybody who's around kids. If you are around a child, even if you always say to the kid, you're gorgeous, you're strong, you're amazing, if you say the opposite about yourself, they will learn to self-judge. For instance, I have a great example of this. In one of the schools here in Iceland, there was a whole class of teenagers where all the girls wouldn't go swimming. They refused to go because of self-consciousness and body issues. And when they sent in a woman to talk to the girls and find out what's actually wrong, why won't they go swimming? Is there bullying happening? Is there something wrong?
That is
They talked to all the girls.
extraordinarily sad. Wow. Wow.
Nobody had ever said anything ugly about their bodies, but when she asked them, what does your mother say about her body, they had all the criticisms that they gave themselves.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's
It's very
scary.
true. It's very, very true. I mean, it's a learned behavior, right? It's monkey see,
Wow.
monkey do kind of a thing.
It's so important. You have to teach
Well,
your child how to talk to themselves, because they will be their harshest judge if you allow them to be. Because the person who tears yourself down the most is going to be yourself, unless you actually pay attention to your own thoughts and you censor them, edit them. You control your thoughts. You're like, no, I do not agree with this thought. I'm going to get this out of my programming. And you teach the kids early that you can edit these things and change your behaviors with this, and they will learn how to improve and better themselves as persons, even at a young age. Something that you can do as an adult.
It all first starts at the household.
Wow, that's really good advice. I think that's just probably the same for men too, and sons. I mean, you don't want to let your
Absolutely.
sons. Yeah, you don't. Yeah, that's so important. Wow, thank you for saying that. This is amazing.
I grew up with my
as soon as my
family telling me that I was stupid.
Well, you got a new family now, partner.
You're intelligent
Well,
and
that's
you're
even
flat out
different.
family
That's a
loves
little
you and
different though. What she was saying though was that if your father would be saying about himself that he's stupid, not that you're stupid, the child, but then being the child and seeing your father think that he's stupid. Like that's
No,
that's a whole
see with
thing.
my dad. Nah, he didn't kind of talk to me. He was a little more silent because he always kept to himself. He was a SEAL, but living in with my mother's household, I was always told I was stupid and like I was the black sheep of the family. My family they look down at me.
Yeah, no, I always told my children that, when it comes to the flat earth, I missed all the clues. That's why you learnt early. As soon as I knew, you had to know, because you cannot carry a mistake like the earth is a globe for 53 years. And that hurt me. I told them that hurt me because they told me a lie. So now you know the truth. Okay, Daddy made a mistake because he didn't check it. Right now, I've checked it. I'm telling you. So now you will never make that mistake ever, because you know that the earth is level and flat. You know this now. So go forward. Talk to your friends. Show them the Gleason's map. I made a special writing pad with the grandfather's picture on the back and the Gleason's map on the front. So when they're at school and they're writing, that people will see this thing in the classroom. Yeah, man.
So if I can ask the ladies then real quick, can we get the ladies back in real quick? Because I'd like to ask them how they feel about what he just said about. So do you, in your opinion, do you guys feel that if you have small children, do you try to somehow instill in them the knowledge that the earth is flat before they hear the lie in the classroom? Or do you wait till they come home from that first day from the classroom when they're taught that the earth is round? And then do you sort of try to tell them the truth, or what?
You don't need to wait for that. You don't need to wait for that, because my son, who you can hear in the background, he's only 4. And I mean, just watching a Peppa Pig episode, he is already like astronaut, space, all these different things. So, I mean, they are indoctrinated from a very young age of what they are supposed to think that everything is. We kind of had this discussion earlier. I'm sad that you missed it. You can go back and rewind if you want to hear the full thing. But it basically comes down to just having conversations with them, making sure that you're playing devil's advocate with them, making sure that they're learning logic. Like how kids ask you why, you ask the kid why right back to make sure that they're forming that. And Karma also brought up a good point of making sure that kids can distinguish between a belief and fact. like when
Okay.
somebody's believing something versus when something is an actual fact that can be proven. So just having those conversations with kids, because no matter what, once they're born, they're going to be fully indoctrinated one way or another, unless you somehow have just ridded them from everything that's happening in the world. They're going to get this information
So
one way or
just to
another.
get it straight, what you're
That's the hardest
saying
thing.
is that when they ask a why question, you're saying answer them back with a why question again, like, well, why do you think that?
Yeah, well,
Is what you're saying?
exactly. I think that there definitely should be that, but also just, the devil's advocate. Okay, well, if you are saying that it is this, then why? I mean, what about this as well? Right? So carrying that conversation out where you rid them of their whys as well, just as much as they ask you why. You ask them, why do you think this, and how much they can actually explain. And when it's a really young child and they're saying, like, why is the sky blue? And you can, answer these and explain certain different things, right? But they're so little that they might not fully get it, But once they get older and they start to learn more about conversation and all of these sorts of things, then playing devil's advocate and making sure that they're always questioning themselves on top of questioning everyone else, to question their own biases and their own reasoning. Is this actually a belief or is it actually fact? And coming down to that conclusion of what things actually are is pertinent to logic, teaching them the fallacies and whatnot. But when they're really, really young, I mean, it's really hard once they've been indoctrinated with it. Like my son, I don't even talk to him about it because he'll be like, oh, astronaut or space. I can't be like, well, astronauts in space, second law of thermodynamics. He's not going to, I just say, oh, that's a cool story.
Yeah, he's
That's
not
a cool
gonna.
story. He's too young. Once he gets older and that language develops, that's when you can really start implementing that back and forth conversation of devil's advocate, why, what is belief, what is fact, fallacies, logic, all that kind of stuff.
What grade, like what age level? and
My
grade does that
youngest was
start
6
happening?
when I taught him.
6.
Can I also mention that when it comes to parenting and teaching, it's always going to vary depending on the child, the maturity of the child, and which areas he's processing properly. Like first, like is he going to be good at like certain intellectual areas or others? It takes time to develop, and different kids develop at different speeds, and they even need different approach to teach them. Because if you have a stubborn child or if you have a shy child, it can change how you explain to them so they understand. So, like she said, asking them why and getting them to explain how they think is a good way to understand at what point are they, what do they understand, how much can they understand, and how can I explain this in a way that he can or she can comprehend.
How do you
I guess with
instill in
my
them that it's
children,
okay? How do you instill in them the confidence to be okay with having questions, but not being able to necessarily get the question answered because there is some things that we don't know. So how do you
social frame?
And that's a big thing. That's a big problem that we have in our society, right? Is people can't let go of their ego and admit that they were lied to and admit that they were wrong. So I'm wondering, is there like strategies that you guys use with children to tell them, hey, it's okay to ask a question, and like, okay, if somebody asks you, well, why is the sky blue, and you say, well, I don't know. That's a good question. I honestly, I don't know, and it's okay not to know.
Just be honest.
Maybe the correct. There's lots of theories, and I'm just using that as an example, but. Have anybody encountered that with their children?
We have a term for this in my workplace called teachable moments, where when things like this happen, you grab the moment when the kid has shown curiosity or said something, to use that as a moment to teach them. And depending on how that moment goes, it changes your approach again. The best thing you can do is equip yourself with a lot of tools and also be aware of how you're framing it and be consistent in the way you frame it. For instance, you can frame it in a way where space is treated the same way you would treat Narnia or fantasy magicians, And when it comes to helping them be okay with asking questions or speaking out or even having a different opinion than everyone else, it's showing by example, being casual about it, and even showing them that you and another person have different opinions, and that's okay, because a lot of this is shown by example. Kids learn a lot by showing by example and play acting. A lot of
So
the
they
way
pick
that
up that confidence. They
things,
pick
they
up
learn
that
to
confidence from
understand
just
them is
observing
to
you.
play. Sorry, what did you
Wait,
So
let
what
her
you're saying
finish
is
and then Oscar.
what you're saying is they pick up that confidence from observing you being confident and how you handle questions in certain situations. They just automatically pick that up from seeing your confidence. It's not something that you necessarily like a lesson that you can teach them.
Well,
Dude, it
I
even
think
works
you
with
just
cats.
teach them to be honest to themselves, be honest to their friends. And with my children, they were very lucky because I'm an outdoor man. After being in the army, the outdoor life stuck with me. So I took them to nature all the time. From when they were babies, they were camping. You know what I mean? So the outdoor life is installed in them. And then when I became a flat earther, it was easy for me to get that message across. Very easy. I had no problem.
Okay, so
Number one is
Karma, I
don't lie
didn't get
to
to
your
hear the last of what you wanted to say.
Oh, yeah, I was saying that kids often process and learn and deal with information and how they feel about those things through play acting. That's why you often see kids playing house or things like that. That's often them trying to process or trying to understand a certain character in their own life, which is why you can actually use this to get a bit of an insight into what's going on in the head of the kid. So it's very important to sneakily pay attention to what your kids are doing when they play act. But
it's very true.
I don't
Yeah.
know the point to forget.
Well, and it's also the
So I grew up playing
Let
house.
me hear her. It's ladies' night. Let me hear her response.
ladies'
Or I
night
will
still,
smack
guys.
you across the aisle virtually.
I love you, Karma. Thank you. What you to
Yeah,
piggyback
I
on what
actually
you
wore
were
the flat
saying?
earth
It's
t-shirts to
ladies'
the
night, guys.
schools. So when I go
It's
to see
ladies'
them at
night.
school,
Let me hear her. I swear to
okay,
God,
sorry,
I'll get
ladies.
video. I'll start screaming at you in Icelandic.
I would love to hear that. Actually, that would be amazing. Yeah, it is again like even when she's talking about when it comes to the playing, there is this whole monkey see, monkey do kind of thing, right? And so what they witness at home, and then when they are play acting with their children, you can see kind of where these children are at with what they've seen because they are then reenacting what they have already witnessed. And so she is spot on by saying like pay attention to how your children are playing because those are traits that they're picking up, right? Sometimes I mean kids are just jerks and they will do things that they've never even seen before, like my son got into he got into a period where he would hit me, not hard, you know what I mean, but just like a quick slap, like he was frustrated and he would hit me. He's never witnessed that in our home, you know what I mean. And I don't know if he's ever witnessed it on anything that he's seen on TV because I've never allowed him to witness anything like that, but it's just like this knee-jerk reaction kind of thing.
It's a natural thing.
Yeah, it's a very natural thing, right? Like you're pissed off and he wants to defend himself. Yeah. And so he needs to learn that when you do something physical like that, then will be a self-defense thing as well. I mean, I wouldn't hit him, but those conversations have taken place and he quickly, got out of that. It was probably like a week that we were dealing with that kind of a thing. So there are certain things that kids will child play with that they, probably have never witnessed, but there are also like, you really can witness certain things where you're like, wow, where did they get that from? That things that aren't natural, right? Yeah, exactly. And I think that's
Let me ask you
what
this.
you're talking about.
Let me ask you this.
Comment on what
So, like,
you're saying real quick because this is a really good point with the displaying actions like this because it's physical as well and it's emotion tight. When kids, especially boys, because they have a lot of energy, when they get big emotions that's hard to deal with, they sometimes just show it physically. And this is almost like testing boundaries. This is something you test out. And if you give them an alternative, like for instance, stomp the feet to get rid of the energy, for instance, that can help with them with it. If you just give them alternative or like breathe, count to 3, different little techniques, because often that just means they're missing a tool from their toolkit to deal with this emotion. But also, forgot my other points. Now you can go.
Okay, I just wanted to ask you real quick on that point about the children observing behavior. So, has there ever been a situation where you and your child were in front of the television, and whether you're just had on normal TV or a movie, and you see, like they show the Earth, for instance, from space, the round globe Earth? Do you ever find yourself being like, oh, like out loud as you see the image in front of your child? And then I wonder if is that a bad thing to do in front of your child before they've can comprehend kind of why you're doing that?
No. I mean, if you're
It does.
saying something that is incorrect that you're watching on TV, I don't think there's anything wrong with pointing out fallacies, anything that's untruthful or incorrect in front of them. You know what I mean? That's exactly what you should be doing. Like that's silly or that's not real. You know, of course there's always good ways to do it, but for sure, point it out.
You do it
That's not
subconsciously as
real.
well.
You know,
Because it's
that's
body
not real. It's a
language and
cartoon.
different things like tones.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to say, kids pick up really well on this, and we have plenty of examples where kids will have really strong opinions on something they had know nothing about, simply because a parent has expressed this emotion in front of the TV on the news. Like I had a kid being like, Donald Trump, because Trump means fart, and his name can be changed to Trump very easily. And I was like, do you know who that is? And he's like, no. But he told me that he knew he sucked, though. And I'm like, how do you know that if you don't know who it is? He's like, I don't know. But his dad doesn't like Trump.
I've got something to say that relates to this. I was with my son before I started homeschooling him, and he was really young. I think he was about 6 or maybe 7, and he had some history to do, homework. And I can't remember how involved I truly was in knowing what he was being told in school. But this particular history lesson was about the Bronze Age. So you had these humans dressed in animal fur. They had no furniture in their cave, and they had a fire, and they were basically quite unhygienic, unkempt looking people. And because you're not always aware what you're saying and how your children are taking it in, I told him at one point during our discussion to go and ask his teacher whether Adam and Eve looked like that. And so we have this thing that I use a lot of humor, that maybe the poor teacher, she's just doing what she's told, and that maybe my son should take the next lesson, and that the book in front of us was rubbish. So it is, there comes a time where the school is going to expect your child to regurgitate what they are forcing down their little throats, whether it be something to do with history, science, health, the natural world, these fallacies, these inconsistencies, and all this rubbish. It's hard as a parent to stay on top of everything, because you're just being confronted by things that are incongruent, that don't fit. I suppose that is the way of the world. If I had a child now, I would not send it to a school. I would not.
That is a troubling
that's
thought
rule
too, because
number
then
one.
how do you handle when they start to get older then and they have to learn certain lessons that they become to realize they know are lies, but they still have to then lie in their papers and in their schoolwork in order to pass, which has got to be super difficult for a child. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. If they got level-headed parents and you raised them right and you taught them right and you explained it to them right, I suppose it could be okay.
Yeah, no, yes. I did that for my child.
And when I had to regurgitate things in exam that I knew wasn't true, like if you've already seen alternative history or something, and then they try to make you regurgitate things that's obviously not true, but you just memorize it, kind of like if you were memorizing something from a novel for a book report or a fantasy world. I mean, if I can know a shit ton about Lord of the Rings or The Matrix, I can learn about their made-up history just as well.
Well, this is also something that comes down to debating skills, right? No matter what, you are always taught that you still like when you learn how to debate, you have to take a stance, even if you don't believe in that stance. You take that stance and learn how to argue for that stance, right? What are the best arguments that these people come up with? And then by learning that, you learn how to demolish their arguments. So it still is a good skill to learn how to argue for something, even if you are against it. It's like debating 101. It doesn't make it right that these things have to happen in school, that if you do not K-plate and capitulate to your teachers or professors, that you'll get a bad grade. I mean, that is just so sickening. But it really, if you have a strong-willed child that is set in this kind of a structure, that's how I would lay it out. But I am all for homeschooling. I think homeschooling is the best
Yeah,
thing you could possibly do for your
absolutely.
child.
I suppose in the long run too, it does make us stronger. I mean, I feel like people on this stream that are like-minded like us, I feel like we are stronger minded than people that, you know, can't question what they were taught in school at all. And that we had to go through that experience, learn all that crap, and then come to terms with the fact that, wait a minute, later in life, that it was all lies, and then reteach ourselves everything that we need to know. It makes us better, I suppose, which is a positive in a way. It's a lot of wasted time.
Yeah, anybody who's able to know the argument well enough that they can actually defend it as if they were arguing for it, those are the kind of people that I want to listen to when they're actually against it. Like, if you don't know what the facts of the case are or what's going on, like, there's no reason to even have a conversation with you, because it's like all I'm going to be doing is educating you on what actually is. But if you know the facts of the case and can argue for those facts because you know those facts so well, then I would love to have a conversation with you if you actually believed in the opposite of what those facts presented were, you know, quote unquote facts.
Yeah.
So that's like literally debating 101 for real. That would be the only way that I would see it would be justifiable for children to do that in school, and the only way to explain it to children that had to do it. And then, of course, having the discussion with them about how horrible this system is, that you have to do that in order to get a good grade, that you should be able to go against it and that teacher still give you a good grade, but they're so brainwashed that that doesn't happen. So that opens up a whole other conversation that is good to have with children that have to be in public ed.
Oh, and by the way, I love the whole devil's advocate thing you've been talking about. Because when you were talking about it, I realized Drace actually did this for me without us even planning it or doing it consciously. Because we would make this was kind of a game. It was a joke between us where we would like debate bullshit, like made up bullshit, but we would debate it back and forth. And it would practice how to debate without even realizing we were doing that.
Yep.
We'd often do all kinds of these kind of smart things without realizing, and then later you're like, "Hey, this is why this was so easy."
Yeah.
So you should always make it fun.
Yep. It really is fun. And if you make it fun for children, because no matter what, arguing is fun. Everyone, for the most part, if it's a good argument and not like a dumpster fire, like if you're having a good conversation and working those muscles in your brain to think of different avenues, different arguments. Well, what about this? What about that? That is fun. And it's a great thing to have. Like, we have it so often in here where the minds are just working and toiling away, and it's fabulous, and it's good, hard work that is rewarding, right? So just making sure that they're in that kind of a mind frame, that this isn't, because so often we see on social media and stuff, it's just, it's argument for the sake of argument. Like, people don't actually want to hear the facts. They'll triple down with lying. They won't actually argue anything. They won't admit that they don't know. And yeah, that can be fun to win in those circumstances when you know more. But it isn't as good as like having that actual banter like you're talking about. Like I had with my dad, you had with your brother, where you're just working each other's minds.
Deep conversations, right?
Yeah.
That's a good point too. I feel like a lot of the problem with that is this new generation, for some reason, they've been convinced or taught to believe that their beliefs are facts. So they're super opinionated about everything, and they have all these beliefs, but none of them are actually rooted in any fact. But since they feel like they believe it so strongly, that automatically makes it a fact. which is, I think, a really problem that we
Yeah,
have right
Karma
now.
brought that up earlier. Karma actually, when I was talking about devil's advocate, she then brought up to talk to kids about belief versus fact. Like, what
Right.
what can we actually prove? What is the actual evidence that we have, and what is actually something that is just strictly a belief that we actually, those kinds of conversations are really important as well, for sure.
Also, you can see how the mainstream keeps pushing this narcissistic personality type towards people, and with that also comes this whole deal. Like, as soon as you go into the whole narcissistic package, it's all feels before reals, and I feel like a 6-year-old girl, so I, as a 50-year-old man, should be allowed to sleep in the bed with a 6-year-old girl that I'm not related to. You're like, wait, what?
And then people defending that because they get into those emotions rather than what is logical and sound and reasonable and sane. Like, I mean,
Yeah, and
you're
those are the
absolutely right
role
with the
models kids are
narcissism.
seeing.
Yep.
Social
So that's
media
why it's
builds
so
on that
important to share.
narcissism too,
Yeah,
because
100%.
then they get this like weird thing that they think their opinion actually matters. you know, you know what I mean?
Well, and that's the thing. I think that everyone, if you actually are standing by truth, you've done your research, and your opinion matters, you can have like 2 followers and be justified in typing stuff out that maybe nobody even ever likes or witnesses, right? Because you are factually correct. But it's this whole mob mentality of misinformed, uneducated, illogical, dare I even say sociopathic, deluded, delusional, crazed people that are in this groupthink mentality that they have no facts on their side whatsoever. Totally, just the comments that I see on social media, it's astounding. Like, absolutely astounding, some of the stuff that I see. And that's usually what I do on social media is I'll just like retweet people that have just made absurd comments about just anything. And it's a whole entire platform, right? Like, these people just don't know. And so trying to even inform them, they will triple down and double down because there is this groupthink mentality. We are justified. You are evil. Divide and conquer, right? I mean, it is brilliant. And I take my hat off to the handlers of this world because it is absolutely brilliant what they have done to people, this matrix that they have created. But those of us who see it, I mean, while I respect them for what they have done in like a really diabolical way, like, damn, gotta pay them respects for how horribly, like, little tips of their
It's more
fingers.
damaging than any weapon they've ever created.
Yeah,
Any weapon that they've
really
ever created is way more destructive than any atom bomb. Hydrogen bomb is way more destructive.
Yeah, I mean, this whole mind control game that has been set up is absolutely fascinating. But for those of us who are able to step outside and are able to witness it, and people come at different times, you never know which person you might reach on a social media platform or on here, where it just maybe it would take one little thing where they're like, wait a minute, that was the one thing I needed to hear. And it's also usually what happens is that people hear things, right? And so they'll hear this information, they'll act justified in it, act justified, and they're tripling and doubling down. And then months down the road, something will happen to them where they hear something and that will ignite. They might not remember who told them what, but something will connect after they've heard it so many times that they'll be like, whoa, I just realized something. And they will
That's
never
why I
give credit.
appreciate-
Wait, hold on. They will never give credit to anyone else. They will act as if, they will really think as if they were the ones who realized this on their own. They won't even recognize all the people that have paved the way for them to have that realization. And none of that matters. The fact that they actually finally get there, they will still have that narcissistic tendency, like, oh, look what I just discovered. I am so brilliant, like whatever, But the fact that they get there,
tell you
exactly
what you told them.
Yeah.
That's why I appreciate this platform and you guys being here. And sometimes I do get discouraged when I come on and listen because rarely when there is somebody that believes in the globe Earth here, sometimes they get ganged up on and get kind of ran out of here, and sometimes that discourages me because I feel like there could be somebody that has similar beliefs that's listening but too scared to speak up, and that might turn them off, and it's not going to help them come to realizing truth. So that bothers me a little bit, but I really love that you guys are here and doing what you do because I think it is important.
everybody having a voice, and especially people that do the research, are really trying to be as logical as possible, really, really, truly, no matter what the truth is, want to discover what that truth actually is. Those are the most important people in my world, at least. Like, God bless everyone who is like that. And it's just so amazing to see more and more people realizing this and coming to logic because of how illogical things are right now. I mean, they're burning their own asses. It's like the Ouroboros. They're eating themselves. And we're literally witnessing that happen in real time. It's really fascinating to see.
Yeah, and it's frustrating too when you're first awakened. Whatever truth first awakens you to all the other truths out there. I know for me, as soon as I learned, and for me it was pretty much 9/11. Although I was already, from my grandfather, he used to talk to me all the time about the truth about JFK and all this other government crap. But 9/11 really changed my life, and when I realized what was happening and woke up to everything, all the bigger lie, and this was before even flat Earth. I haven't even reached flat Earth yet. The first thing I wanted to do was tell everybody I know and that I love. And that is one of the most devastating and heartbreaking things because, nobody, nobody really believes you or takes you seriously. And that's really hard and devastating to deal with and takes a little while to get over. But then eventually you get over it and you move on and realize, hey, I can't save everyone, which is frustrating. And I'm sure we've all felt that way
Yeah,
at
we
some
can't
point.
save everyone. It's like that story with the starfish on the beach, right? Like, there's so many of them that no matter what you do, like, you're not going to be able to throw all of them back into the ocean, but you can still try and save as many as you possibly can. And you can still stand outside and say, didn't you realize this? What about this? Again, playing the devil's advocate and showing them logic, showing them facts. And that's the whole thing, is to not get frustrated that they might not welcome it and they might be upset with you or they might call you names or whatever it is, but to stand there with your facts and let their arrows hit you, because they're not going to do anything. Everything they're spewing at you is not factually correct. And so just somewhere down the line, somehow, most people that have any ounce of anything within them will come to some sort of truth that will wake them up and make them start questioning. And
Have any of you ladies ever told somebody that you love, or like a friend or a relative, tried to wake them up on something and they didn't take it, and then like 5 or 10 years later they come back to you and try to wake you up on it, and you say to them, you realize I told you this like 10 years ago, and they
That's
don't give you any
exactly why I
credit.
said that. Yeah, it was exactly why I said that. Is because that has happened to me multiple times. And I'm like, I even have the text messages. I have the emails. Like, look at what we're looking at right now. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, I totally forgot about that. And that's when I started realizing that is so important, to continue to talk to people no matter how crazy they think you are, to just keep putting those facts in their heads, those little nuggets, those little grains, those little mustard seeds. And hopefully somewhere down the line, they'll hear things from other people. And then when they hear those things from other people, they'll be like, oh, I came to this conclusion on my own, which is perfectly natural and perfectly normal because I've witnessed it so many times. We don't need recognition. We just want people to reach the truth. But it also is interesting to point out to them, if you do have evidence for it, like, look, we talked about this way back when, and look at what your replies were. Look at how you have changed now, what helped you to come to this, and like really starting to figure out the psychologics behind it all. Why do brains behave this way? Why are people so defensive, so afraid of being wrong, so in the need to be right rather than discovering truth? That's what fascinates me the most.
It is I believe, in my opinion, if you're interested, it is because everything since we're born that we are put under, as far as media, television, school system, it is mind control. I really think that it is a form of developed mind control and it's hard to break out of. It is sad though too when you do that, when you wake up on something for the first time and you have this strong feeling and you just want to tell people that you love, because it's important and you believe in it. And then the people that you love and you want them to know the truth, when they turn you away, it's such a heartbreaking feeling because you have no agenda. You just want to tell them because they need to know. And it's really a heartbreaking thing.
Sorry, my microphone cut out. I agree with you. It's mind control and it's ego, right? And it's groupthink.
Right.
And all these things
Mhm.
combined in our needs as human beings to be in this group where, so I did this poll. I took this crazy like mind control class called Landmark. I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of it. It's actually where I met my husband. And basically, the Wachowskis took this, and there's a whole debate about that and how the Matrix came about. But all the phrases they use in Landmark is what they used in the Matrix. And it's basically the whole Matrix story, the whole movie is literally what they teach you in Landmark. And it's all about, like, you're the creator of your world, whatever. And it basically comes down to that people need each other. We don't want to be alone. And so in this class, we were supposed to do like projects or whatever. And so for my project, I asked people what their greatest fear was. I asked 200 people. Every single person except for 10 replied being alone.
Yeah.
Being alone is everyone's number one fear. So if people are in this group think and they have to stand alone and say, I don't agree with that, like you're crazy, they're afraid of what those repercussions would actually mean. So it does take time for other people to also stand up, right? So that they feel more comfortable, like they're shielded by others, like I'm not alone in this. There's just something ingrained in us with that. And then, of course, there's also the ego, which we have a major issue with being wrong. Instead of just discovering truth, it's like, well, I'm right, fuck the truth. I want to be right in this situation. That's the other thing. Those two things combined, I think, are really some kind of hormonal something that's going on with us that really is against us. And being able to witness that happening in our own brain in real time and being aware of that and practicing that in real time conversation is the best thing we can do and the best thing we can pass on to our children. That it's okay to be wrong when you're in the face of truth, and it's okay to stand up for what is right when no one else stands up with you, when you know that it's right.
That is all of our worst enemies. When I think back about my life and all the mistakes I've made, when I think about it and I'm honest about it, pretty much a majority were all ego based. All of them. And it's so strange too, because now that I've let go of that ego, I can't understand it at all. I can't understand where it comes from and why do we cling on to that so much? Why is it so important? And then once you let it go, it's such a relief. And then you don't even understand, why was it so hard to let go? What happened? What changed? It's such a weird thing to experience and think about.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating, and I use the word weird all the time too. It's like one of my favorite words. I'm writing a book right now, and actually in the very first chapter, the main characters have a discussion. She's like, "Isn't this weird?" And he's like, "Why do you always call everything weird? Like, that's amazing." And it's like, no, those two things mean the same thing. Like, weird is amazing. Weird is like, it is so extraordinary that it's beautiful, it's ugly, it can mean all these different things. I think weird is like the perfect word for it. And ego is definitely weird on all aspects.
It really is.
It trips me out. The whole psychology behind that's my favorite part about all of this is the psychology. Like what people are thinking, why they're thinking it, why they say what they say, why they do what they do.
Don't you feel that the reason why you feel that way? Because the reason why I feel that way is because once I learned, or once I came to the realization that, because I never really thought about it before, that the Earth was flat, I knew instantly. Like, I didn't even have to think about it no more. All of a sudden I instantly realized it when I started looking into it, and I just knew automatically. Of course, it's so obvious. I've known it somewhere inside of me this whole time, and it is the most obvious lie. But for some reason, it is the biggest and hardest to wake people up to. but it shouldn't be because it's so simple and so obvious. But that's why it's so fascinating too, because for some it is the hardest to break. It seems like most people. I feel like, don't you think?
Well, and I don't think that people ever can. Like, I mean, I still get into arguments with friends or my husband or even on here where I'm like, I witness myself like, oh my gosh, I'm going down the road of needing to be right and my ego being bruised. Like, stop it, and I'll apologize. And I'm like, whoa, sorry for that, guys. Like, I just had a human moment. And I think that's all we really need to do when we're confronted with that is like, when we realize in real time that we are having that happen, because it will always happen. I don't think we will ever overcome our ego or, self-righteousness or any of these things. But the more we practice it, the quicker we will realize that we're doing it. And we can say in that moment, like, whoa, you know what? You're totally right. That was an ego moment. Like, I need to step back. I was trying to be right there. You actually have just proven so much to me. Thank you for that. Like, it takes practice, and we need to, be people who are going to be representatives for that, right? To like she was saying earlier, like how kids, it's a monkey see, monkey do, right? And the more
No,
that
yeah,
people
absolutely.
stand up and are logical and reasonable and recognize when they're wrong, especially in the moment, rather than needing to have a conversation later on. Recognizing that there's an issue right now, let's have it out, let's
Mhm.
reconcile this. And I apologize. I was totally being egotistical. Your facts are amazing. I need to look more into this, even whatever the case may be. That's the
Yeah,
best
that's
that
a
we
good.
can possibly do.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because now when I experience ego, uh, my ego, and when it causes problems, is usually in my relationship, and it's something petty and silly that I believe is right, and then we argue about it. But then I realize, oh, you know what? Maybe, I am making too much of this, or I am wrong, and it's weird because it takes a while for you to have that process in your brain. But when you talk about like in terms of things like flat Earth, if somehow somebody was to prove to me tonight that I'm wrong about flat Earth, everything that I think I know is wrong, and they're able to prove to me that it is round, I am going to be okay with it. I'm not going to have an ego and still believe that I'm right. Those types of things I have no problem with anymore, accepting truths about. You know what I mean? I think we probably all feel that way.
Yeah, I do. I just wanted to say really quick, hi Bree, are you here to talk? Like, are you available to talk is what I meant.
Me?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well.
Good. It's good to see you here tonight.
Thank you.
I also noticed there were some other people in here too. I just wanted to give them a chance to talk. Slims, and I think the other one. Who was the other one? I think Zero left. But Slims, are you here? Did you want to say anything? Is there anyone else that we haven't talked to that wants to speak up? I guess not. Okay,
Well, I
so if anybody
appreciate
wants
your
to say
battle,
anything,
modest. I appreciate you
go
kind
ahead.
of letting me hijack ladies' night for a little bit to ask you some questions. I really appreciate it because I love
No,
hearing
yeah,
from you
that's
guys.
what that's what we're
I'm not
here
trying to
for, is to
hijack.
talk to anybody. You're not
Thank you. I'm not
hijacking
trying
at
to
all.
hijack.
Honestly,
Okay.
that's what we're here for, is to talk
Thank
to
you.
anybody who wants to talk to us, and all of us ladies can chime in whenever anybody wants to chime in. I just always like to take a break really quick to make sure if there is anybody
Absolutely.
who has not been heard from, if you want to speak, we would love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we can go back to our discussion.
I also want to say I really appreciate the fact that you do that because you make a window of opportunity for those who want to say something. For instance, I was just thinking a minute ago, I was like, next lull, I am going to say this. So thank you.
That's awesome. And thank you for thinking of it too. I love it when ladies do that, or even, it's not just on ladies' night, when other people do that, when discussions are happening in here. If anybody wants to speak up that, is kind of quiet and maybe shy, we want to hear from you, and we want to hear what everyone has to say. So, yeah, Please speak up.
Especially if you're overly conscious of interrupting people, because I tend to accidentally do that because of lag or whatever. I'm listening on Dre's TV but talking in my mic. So I often I need to wait for a pause that lasts more than a second.
Exactly.
But I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for lovely ladies' night. It's past 1:00 after midnight here, so I'm gonna play video games while Trace is still awake. Although he'll stay awake all night if I let him talk to the Scloper Anyway, thanks you guys for an awesome
Thank
night.
you, Karma, and I absolutely loved your guys' song. I'm going to be promoting that on all of my servers, channels, social media, whatever. You guys are just doing so great with the music. Just amazing. I'm blown away. Thank you for that.
Thanks so much for that. I don't like my voice so much, but Drace keeps telling me, no, you're good.
I love it. Yeah. You gave me chills 3 times on that song. It was amazing. Amazing.
Oh, my face hurts now. I'm smiling so hard. Thank you. So nice to meet you.
Love you, lady. Okay, so if anybody else wants to chit chat about anything while ladies' night, I think we have a little while left. Yeah. Is there anybody here? Any ladies that want to talk about anything?
I can identify as a lady for 30-ish minutes if you'd like.
That's awesome. Go for it.
Okay, but I'm still gonna sound like a dude. Is that okay?
I totally understand since we're playing pretend. And that's
Okay.
why it's excusable.
Okay. Because I can only sound like a gay guy. I can't sound like a girl.
Nice.
No, I'm kidding. I'll let you guys finish
Stop
out because yeah, I'm gonna let y'all finish out. I just wanted to say something. Okay, bye. Oh, what a night!
Oh, what a night. Okay, well, is there anyone else? Do any ladies want to say anything? I mean, if we're at a dead end, we can always end it and play the second song from Drace and Karma. But if anybody still wants to talk to us or has anything to say, well, then time is now to speak.
Just wanted to say good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Good work break, and I was enjoying listening you guys.
Nice.
Yeah.
Breaks are the best.
Yeah. But they are short.
I've got a Gin CBR one here. Got a question for the lady.
Hello, Jean.
How are you?
Where have you been, Jean?
I've seen him around.
Oh, I haven't seen him for about a month.
I've
Jean.
seen him. He's on other servers. I love what he has to say.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Problem, man. Question
Yeah,
for the
you.
ladies, right?
Yeah, go on.
Now, how do you feel about wearing flat earth material to your children's school? You may be picking them up, or you might have a parents' opening day, parents' observation day. Would you consider that?
Well,
Wearing a
my
flat
son
earth
is
t-shirt.
4. So my son is 4, and my husband is actually a high school teacher. And we're homeschooling. When he turns 5 next year, we're going to homeschool him. We're not sending him. We live in California, so vaccines are it's mandated here in California. Sorry about that slip. It's mandated here, so we're definitely not sending him to public school here. So we'll be homeschooling. But I would have no problem showing up to a school with that kind of a garb. And I know a lot of my friends would have no problem showing up with that kind of garb. Their children already were previous to learning about this kinds of stuff. They're already in junior high or high school. And so I know that they wouldn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a great answer because that's exactly what I did. I mean, I don't wear the suits to the school. I go down there with my flat earth t-shirt, the Gleason's map or the azimuthal equidistant map, yeah, and that's in their face. And my children already know that the earth is flat, so they've asked their teachers about it. They've challenged the teachers in the classroom, so it's there. So you got to put it in their face wherever you can. That's how I feel, anyway. you know, once your children can see that you can wear this truth into a school, they know it's got to be true.
Yeah, I think it's a good talking point, and I think that it would be interesting to see how schools actually felt about this. Like if a student, I know that when I went to school, and this was a long time ago, but I mean, I remember wearing like a Beavis and Butthead shirt, or what was the other one that was like super outlawed back then, was the no fear shirts. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so I
remember
mean,
those.
they
Yeah.
would make me turn my shirt inside out, or give me a different shirt to wear. I don't know how it is going on in schools today, but it would be interesting to see if kids were allowed to wear those kinds of shirts at school, if they were in public education, not in college, of course, but the lower grades. It would be interesting to see if they could.
Yeah, I think if they tried to do that in England, the teachers would be thrown out of the school. They don't have the right to stop children wearing whatever clothes they want, with
See, I
whatever
find that
message
fascinating.
was on there, as long as it wasn't sexually explicit or too, profanity. But a flat Earth T-shirt that wouldn't be deemed in that category, would it?
Yeah, I actually find that fascinating. Being in the UK, since freedom of speech seems to be on trial over there. So I find it
Yeah.
interesting that the teachers aren't allowed to do that kind of thing. I do know over here, girls can wear the shortest of shorts, everything hanging out, and nothing can be said about it. So
No, there's conservative in Britain.
I don't know about logos though.
Yeah, no, yeah. In elementary school, the kids can wear whatever they like. Then when they go to secondary school, it's school uniform. They have to wear the
Oh,
school
gotcha.
uniform unless they go to a private school or they're homeschooled, as it were.
Okay. Yeah, because even I know, if we're talking about just elementary school alone, I know even over here that kids aren't allowed to wear and a lot of it's political stuff. We've heard this happening in the news. Somebody wears like a Trump shirt and they're sent home, or all these different things that happen. Even if it's Black Lives Matter or whatever, there's all this political stuff going on.
Yeah.
There's nothing happening like it used to when I was younger that I've heard of, where it's like Beavis and Butthead was outlawed, and Ren and Stimpy and No Fear shirts, things like that. Snoop Dogg, whatever, wasn't allowed. But I do think that if it is something that is the rule that they usually use around here is that if it's disrupting the classroom in any way, or sending a message to other kids where it's doing something on recess or whatever, then they will crack down on it and say, don't allow your child to wear this here again. But as for the parents picking people up, that's a whole different story. And I think that I wouldn't have an issue with it if my child was going to public school. I would rock that every single day proudly and walk up
Yeah.
to grab his hand for other people to see.
That's exactly what I did. I had the opportunity to teach at elementary, junior high school level, English, and I mixed in flat Earth with that, and it went down a right treat. Here in Japan, that is. So the Japanese school education system invited me to teach English at their schools, 3 schools, and I got them to what was it? Draw the seaside scene. The horizon, clouds in the sky, seagulls, the yachts, boats, people swimming. Yeah, and then I drew my picture on the whiteboard. Mine was a curved horizon, right? And the teachers and the kids all laughed. They laughed at me. They said I did it wrong. They said, because the horizon is not curved; it's level. But they were laughing at my picture. And I said, yeah, but then I pointed to their globe and said, but we live on a globe, don't we? And then it went quiet. And they had their heads to one side thinking. And then I proceeded to rub my picture. I said, yeah, I'm wrong. So I proved the point that they know the earth is level. It's just the programming is getting in the way. Sorry, did you hear all that? Or did I break up?
No, yeah, I got you. I just have a child that's annoying in the background.
Sorry, yeah.
No worries.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. I totally do.
Yeah. I introduced it subtly there, and I just think the sooner the kids can learn that, the better, because they already know the Earth is level from the environment that they're playing in and growing up in. So they already know that the Earth is a leveled plane. They know this. It's in their mind, in their psyche already. So the sooner you can get them onto that, the better. And I think a good age, six is a good age. 5, 6, that's good enough to start introducing them to the truth. I mean, my youngest was 6, and then the other 3 boys were older than the youngest one, but they all learnt together at the same time. You see, because not only was I a father to my children, and I still am, but I'm also their friend. So I play the games with them. I do everything with them. See, so I was able to, when I found out, well, it was in 2015. When I found out, I spent 6 hours checking, making sure that is this for real, you know, after ignoring it for like 6 months. And then I went upstairs and said, okay, boys, sit down. I found out something really interesting. Now just sit down, pay attention. And then I asked them what the shape of the earth was and how could they prove it, is what I said. And then they started saying, well, look, there's a picture. I said, but that's CGI, that is, you know, and so on and so forth. You know the story. And they came round. Lucky for them, they've been on boats, so they've seen the horizon. They've travelled by aeroplane on holiday. So we've taken them here, there, and everywhere. So the experiences were there for them to quickly come on board. That's why I said my children were lucky like that. So it's just a question of timing and what kind of experience they've had. But most children, you know, wouldn't think the earth was a ball spinning. But that's the end of the questions anyway. But nice hearing from you guys anyway. Brilliant ladies' night, by the way. Fantastic.
Thank you, and it was good hearing from you. And yeah, I would like to see the shirts when you get a chance if you can post them.
Yeah,
it's good to see you, Honda Motorcycle.
Yeah, I actually wear the t-shirt. I'm wearing one now. My Flat Earth research Flat Earth, or dare to research Flat Earth with the WHO logo with the reefs. Yeah, olive green, military olive green one, really nice. And the other one is the Azimuth equidistant map. And I wear these whenever I have to go to this. If I wear them all the time, but when I go to the school, the same story. I don't put the suit and tie on. No, got a message to send, so I send the message. Everyone's all formally dressed, but Jin's got in, you know, camouflage trousers, Flat Earth t-shirts. Yeah, hey there. Yeah, nice. Yeah, all right, that's right. The Earth is not a spinning ball. So there's nothing wrong with doing that, I think. And if every flat earther can get on board with that, yeah, sending the truth into the schools. Like you said, it's a good topic for conversation.
Is there anyone else that wanted to chit chat with us before? I mean, it kind of sounds like Ladies' Night is slowing down. If we are going to close it out, we can definitely close it with Drace and Karma's second song, unless anybody else has something to say. Okay, then I think Drace, I don't know, I can't, I don't know how to stream the song, so if somebody can do that for us, it would be really cool to hear your guys' song, or your second song. I don't know if Karma's on that one or not.
Thank you, ladies, for being here. I really appreciated all your thoughts and conversations.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, the second
So-
song is just me. I'm ready to play whenever you are.
So I heard the end of your discussion about, the ego and, if someone were to, like prove you wrong about it, then you'd be open to it.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Say that one more time.
I caught the end of your discussion before about you guys were talking about the ego and how like the guy was saying, if someone were to like, prove him wrong about flat Earth, that he would be open to it and like.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole point of
So,
like being logical and like that. I started talking about that if something can be proven right, then of course you will back down and be like, okay, either I need to look into this more, or I was completely wrong, depending on how valid the information is. Are you saying you have something?
well, I do have something, but yeah, so I do have something, and I think that you should look at other. I know it seems flat, and I will agree with you on that. Like our senses tell us that it's flat, So, but the thing is, like, things aren't always as they seem.
Of course. So, what is your reasoning then? Let us hear the evidence you want to bring to the table, and we can logically discern how valid we think it is.
So, if you take a video camera and you put it on the edge of water and you zoom in, you'll see that the water is actually concave.
I'm sorry, say that one more time. You cut out.
If you take a video camera and you put it on the edge of water, like 2 inches on the edge of the water, like right above the water, and you zoom in, you'll see that the water is concave.
So you
What kind of
understand
water?
about lenses. Wait, hold on. You understand that lenses affect what you're seeing through a camera, correct?
Definitely, they affect what you see. Yeah, I'm not going to deny that. I'm not talking about the lens though. I'm talking about the water in between, like 2
Okay.
boats, for example.
Do you have something that you can show us so that we can visually see exactly what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Can you post it in the live stream voice text so we can all see?
Okay. Just give me a sec.
Thank you.
Well, are you talking about a puddle? Or are you talking about a lake? Or are you talking about an ocean? What do you mean?
Dude's a concave earther. He's been here like 20 times and been banned. To show you the same video we've seen 100 times.
Okay,
You
that's
moron.
interesting.
Indy, did you ever check out that book, The Cellular Cosmogony?
Yes.
You did. Well,
I've seen all the all the concave earther nonsense. I've seen it all.
So you read the book?
The book, Cellular Cosmogony.
You read
Yeah.
it?
So what's negative refraction? What causes it?
You said you read the book. I don't believe that you read the book. I think you're lying.
By Stephen, what's his name? Stephen J. Christ or whatever his name is.
No, that's not who wrote
Lord Stephen Christ.
Did you post the picture yet?
That's not who. I knew you didn't read it. Just caught you in a blatant lie right there.
Did you post your picture yet? Because I don't see it.
Listen, there's a video called Cellular Cosmogony, right? But it has excerpts of the book, right? It's 8 hours long. Yeah, I watched an 8-hour video on
By Cyrus Reed. By Cyrus Reed Teed.
I just got one question for you, Cell Earthers, right? How come the stars above don't match the layout of the cities on the other side of the world?
Believe me, I'm not the guy to talk to you about this. Like, I'm not an expert in this by any means. Just want to put that out there.
It's just a question.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Well, I'm still waiting for your picture too that you said you had. That
Oh
you
yeah,
posted.
one sec. I have it. Just give me a second. Because I was talking to India.
Anyway, I would want measurements, not pictures.
Well, yeah, it's not going to make a difference to me. But if he says he has it, I want to see it.
Yeah, I'll post it. Just give me one sec. Yeah, never.
Oh, yeah.
Not that it's going to mean anything.
Well, I mean, it would be cool to see it, but no matter what,
posting it right
when
now.
we're okay, cool.
Okay, I can't. I gotta go to which channel?
Live stream
I was
voice
just
text.
say,
Okay.
by coming in and saying like things don't appear as they seem with our senses, you're making the assumption that we rely solely on our senses, which we don't. We have actual measurements of the surface.
Okay, I'm
showing that
watching it right now.
curve in either direction. So you have an actual measurement for anything.
Look, again, I'm not here to debate you about it. All I'm saying is just look into it. You know, like I'm not 100%
Actually,
on
I know
I'm
what
not
your
100%
measurements are.
on it either. I don't know
The
that it's
Caress Society in Florida, the rectilineator, all that. You don't know about any of that.
Wait, I just
I
watched
do.
this
The
video.
book
I'm
talks
not
about the
sure what we're supposed to
rectilineator.
be saying here. I don't understand what. I mean, other than what we're seeing with lensing, like you actually think that that water is somehow dipping down in reality, as opposed to just what's happening on the video. Like, what are you saying here?
Yeah, if you watch the video, the first boat, if you see so the camera is right on the edge of the water. So in order to see the boats, you have to actually tilt the camera up first of all. Second of all, there's space in between the two boats. Like there's water in between the two boats, and if the water was flat, you wouldn't be able to see above the first boat. The second boat shouldn't be in your vision, but it is. You can see the whole boat plus the water in between the
Okay,
two.
let me take a screenshot of this. Are you talking about what's happening at this point? Let me just take a screenshot of this and post this into the live stream because, again, I'm really not comprehending what it is that you're trying
All right,
to
let me
get
try and
by us.
explain it again. I'm going to
Let
explain
me
it
just
again.
show you. Okay, look at this image. Is this what you're talking about in the video? This point?
Yeah. Well,
Okay, what are you saying?
if the two, yeah. So you see how the boat in the back, the red boat, how you can see the water in between the white boat and the red boat.
Yeah.
So if the water were actually flat, you wouldn't be able to see that water in between the two boats.
Why would you say that? Why would you say that you wouldn't be able to see water in between?
Because think about it, if it's flat and the camera, you shouldn't be able to even see above the first boat.
So basically, we shouldn't even be able to see the first
And
little
you can see
blob
water
that's here on
above
the
the first
left-hand
boat.
side. No. We shouldn't even be able, by what you're stating, we shouldn't even be able to see this little blob to the left at all. Because
Yeah,
it just shouldn't happen.
well, if the camera was indeed flat and level, you
So
wouldn't
you're
be able to
saying
see
that
that
it's
first boat.
dipping
The
down
camera
and
is
lifting
tilted up.
up.
The camera itself is tilting up in order to see this image. It's not
Got
just,
it.
it's
So
not level.
you think that the water is like concave, that it's dipping down and lifting up for us to see things in the distance. Is that
I
what you're
think
claiming?
perspective is concavity.
No, I
That's
don't
what I
think
mean.
it's dipping
So
down.
if it's concave, it would have to be if it's concave, right? Like there has to be some kind of a dip and then a rise. And that's why you're saying it's not flat, it's dipping and rising, and that's how we're able to see something so far away, correct? If it's concave, there has to be a dip and a rise instead of a drop and a hump. It would be the
Well,
opposite. It would be a dip and a rise.
well, I think it's just a dip. I don't know if it's like a dip. I wouldn't think of it like in terms of a dip.
There would have to be some kind of dip if it's concave. This is the same conversation with Globers of the drop and the hump. There would have to be a dip and a rise in
Okay,
order
maybe. So
for it
what's
to
your
be this
point?
way.
What are you trying to get at?
Well, that's my point. I was literally asking you a question. Are you
I don't know.
saying
I
that
don't
it's
know.
dipping and rising?
I don't know if dipping is the right word.
Okay, then what would be the right word?
I mean, I don't know if it's hard to put this into words, you know?
Yeah, 'cause you're a troll and you've been here like 50 times
Well, if
and
you
then
can't
banned
say
50
into
times.
words, well, and this is the most amazing point
I'm
of
not a
this is that
troll.
you wait. Hold
That's where
on. Let
you're
me just say
wrong.
something, Slims. Let me just say
You
this.
are.
Wait, let me just say this really quick. Is that you came in here and you said that conversation that you guys had earlier about like if somebody can prove you wrong, like that you would say, "Oh my goodness, like I'm gonna let go of my ego and I'm gonna say you're justifiably right in this. You know, I
Yeah.
made a mistake." That's how we came into this.
Mhm.
Well, if you can't bring what you're actually trying to describe and you don't actually know what you're trying to describe, then how are we supposed to
No, well,
even
I
have a
do.
conversation like that?
I just described it to you about this scenario about how
You
the
didn't,
camera's on the edge. In order to see the image, the camera has to be tilted up. Do you get that part?
No,
Or
because the
else
How do
camera
we tell the
doesn't have
camera's tilted? How do we know the camera's tilted up?
there's another video where the guy levels the camera
And
Okay,
it
where's
also
that?
doesn't
and he
have,
just zooms
we
it
can
right
see
into
cameras that
water.
are perfectly
I'm
leveled
gonna
that
post
see
it.
quite far. So the camera doesn't
Sure.
have to be tilted up.
Then I
It
want
can
you to
be quite
diagram it.
level.
Then I wanted you to diagram it orthographically.
It doesn't
the
even
same way
matter if the
camera
camera
is.
was tilted up because there's other points that I made too.
Okay, well, that was your main point, was that the camera was tilted up. So now what's your other point?
That is part of the point. Sure, I'll post the video. 1 sec.
That's how we know he's a troll, because he doesn't even know his own argument.
Exactly. And coming in here saying like, oh, that was a great conversation you had about, you would admit that you're wrong. If there was logically sound arguments, then bring me a logically sound argument. And I will admit that I'm wrong, but I'm not hearing anything even like organized right now. And
He's
I would
trying
like
to make
to.
he's trying to make the ridiculous claim that if the Earth was flat, you wouldn't even see the surface because you're parallel, right? As if, like, you know, if you took an orthographic view or something, and I start, like, if I draw a straight line from a camera and I draw a straight line at what represents the surface, those lines will never intersect. So you'll never see the surface. And if you see the surface, then it must be going up, right? It's a
I don't know what you're
ridiculous
talking about.
and foolish, idiotic argument. Because we don't see orthographically, buddy. We see in perspective.
Yeah. This is literally just perspective what's happening here. When you try and zoom in on a certain point, when you're looking out in the distance, everything is going to rise and fill. I mean, it's just what happens. It rises. When you're
I don't know
at
why
this
you guys
base
have to get
level.
so angry and defensive.
I'm not angry, and nobody's
been here before.
Nobody's angry. No, let me
I
speak for a second. Listen.
I posted the video.
Questioning
Let me
you
just-
and making statements doesn't mean that I'm angry.
Let me just say this real fast. Okay, so you got a drone, right? You fly it right over your head, right? And then you got another drone, but it's on a boat, right? It's all over the water. Now, they're right over top of each other. You send them both out, and what's going to happen? The drone is going to appear to set, while the boat is going to appear to get higher and higher and higher. And neither one of them are changing altitude. One's at sea level, one's at 20 feet above sea level, and they appear to do the same thing, right?
You gotta say that again. I'm sorry, man.
Here we go.
I know. I'm trying to comprehend what he's saying. I don't do this all day where I think about this stuff. If you don't mind, I'm trying to comprehend what he's saying. You know, you don't have to get all. You don't have to start laughing at me, dude.
Nobody's upset.
Because you've been here before.
Like,
you might be fooling them, but you've been. This is the fourth time I know you've been.
So what does that matter? What does that have to do with anything if I've been here
Because you were destroyed the other 3 times. I can't believe you keep coming back here with this.
you don't have to play victim. All you have to do is just provide the facts. Like, what are the facts? And if the facts don't add up, then own it. Like, you need
How
to
can this
own
be
your
the 4th
argument.
time and you still can't construct an argument? And you still don't even know what the observation is and you can't describe it to anybody. The 4th time, then say you're not a troll. Come on.
Well,
what are we supposed to
I
think?
posted the
We have
video of the
this
level of the
question,
camera being leveled, so
And we'll change the
my
subject.
argument still holds.
We had this discussion
doesn't,
all night tonight. Belief versus fact. What you're presenting right now is just a belief because you can't even back up with facts or logic or any kind of reason. So just work on that. And then when you have
I
something like
totally
that,
did just checkmate the.
Who did you checkmate?
I will declare victory. And then that'll make me right. Come on, dude.
When did you
Like, really?
checkmate?
I just posted the video with
He
the
declared it.
level video camera. So
And?
there you go. The camera's pointing up.
Yeah, that's great. That's just like me pointing at a vase that's a fucking room and then zooming in it and it going like it doesn't make any sense. Like when you're focusing in on something
think
that's
about
far
it.
away,
If
it's
the
going to
camera-
happen in that way.
If the camera is 2 inches above the surface of the water, then how come there's water above the first boat?
Why is there
You're
water
seeing in
above the
perspective.
first boat? Because it's
'Cause it's
farther
called
out.
Perspective.
That's not
farther out.
perspective. That has nothing to do with
It
perspective.
is perspective.
very,
the water
very
behind the
far
boat
away.
is not at the vanishing point yet. It's really simple.
But the altitude of the camera is below the boat.
So what?
The boat's higher.
That means nothing.
You shouldn't
That
be able
means
to see
nothing.
behind the boat.
You just keep repeating yourself, saying the same thing. That means nothing. It
Not
should
only
be.
is
Why
he
shouldn't it be?
repeating himself,
Listen, why
but
shouldn't it be?
every time we finish completing our whole statement. He then says, "Excuse me, say that again," and have us repeat it again.
No,
Trolling
I
this like
genuinely am
many
trying to
times.
understand what you're saying because I'm not 100% on this.
So, like, listen? Let me ask you this: is the camera behind the boat higher than the water, or higher? Is the water behind the boat, the furthest boat, higher than the camera?
I guess maybe. I don't know. I think
You don't know. The camera's not in the water, right?
it's just above the water.
Okay, so the water far out is camera still above the water, right?
That I don't understand what you just like I think the water behind that boat is higher. Yes.
Oh, you think it's higher? But you think that if the
You do,
water
right?
wasn't higher, you think if the water wasn't higher, you wouldn't be able to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. You don't think that's right?
No, it's nowhere near right.
To me, that makes sense in my mind. Like if the altitude of the camera is
How about
lower than the boat.
how about you don't use your mind, right? How about you don't use your mind and you just draw it out geometrically, right? Just draw this in paint on a piece of paper or whatever you want. Draw it out.
I'd like to read like just the beginning of a chapter from the cellular cosmogony.
Goodbye.
I want to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, how about goodbye instead?
See, you're getting all angry again, man.
I don't have to be angry. You're gone.
So
Doing
can
this
I
again.
explain to everyone else what I was talking about?
Yeah, listen, Tank. I understand you perfectly. Exactly what you're saying. If you have a drone, if you have a camera at so you have something on the ground, camera in the middle, something above it. If you watch these two things in the camera, they're going to converge. One is going to appear to go down. One is going to appear to go up. He understands what you're saying. We live this every single day. Like, it's not like he just woke up yesterday and he doesn't know how vision works. You know what I mean? This dude he's been here multiple times.
Okay, I agree. Yeah, I just didn't know.
I'm just saying he does the same thing where like he just circles and circles and circles and circles and just keeps doing the same thing over and over again. A literal time waster. We sat in here one time for an hour and a half with him, doing the same thing. This circle, just like, oh, it just doesn't do that. Why? And then like when you give him an example of why he's wrong, he changes the subject, declares victory. He just does this over and over again. He's a troll. Like this is, I don't know what else to say. This is old for me. I don't know.
Well, I just have to back that up with the fact that he came in here on the premise that he had such great logic that we would bend and say, "Oh my gosh, you're right." That's what he came in here with, and I didn't see him provide anything that was well thought out, logical. He didn't even understand his own arguments. When I questioned him about it, he was like, "Oh, I don't know. I need to think about that." It's like, well, then don't say that you have all this stuff for people to bend their knee to and be like, "Wow, you're so right." It just doesn't work.
Well, his actual goal, he's a Glober, by the way. His actual goal is to make us appear as if we're unreasonable, that we will deny evidence right in front of our face, and have to equate ourselves with an absurd claim that the Earth is concave. Right? It's like a little a psyop propaganda tactic. I don't know what you call it, but he's done this so many times. I mean, the first time he did this is almost 4 years ago. Think about that. 4 years ago, he's still trying to do the same thing. I mean, I'll give him an A for dedication or something. I mean, any analogy.
Playing a classic
You gave him an example. I gave an example. Hank gave him an example of where he's just wrong. And when he was giving the example, changed the subject. He circled around and just like went right back to the beginning and just started restating the same claim again as if we didn't say anything to refute it. He's done this before. We will just be as long as we entertain him, as long as he'll be here doing that same thing over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah,
You got
I
to see
just
him
want
for
to say
6
on that
hours,
note,
he'll be doing it for
if
6 hours. You do it for 20 hours, he'll do it for 20 hours. Like, just take it, you know what I mean? Pick
I
one.
think we
Like,
should end Ladies' Night on that note and play the awesome song by Drace and close out Ladies' Night so we can get on.
yeah, ending on a high note.
Exactly.
Why does Ladies' Night have to end?
I mean, it doesn't have to end. We can keep going. I mean, I think I might be the only lady here. I think Karma's in the chat. Okay, Jay's here. We can keep it going, but I don't know. People usually end.
We need a ladies' night after party.
I'll still be here to talk, but I mean, if we want to end the whole we're only ladies that are,
Oh, I see.
it would be great to have everybody chime in. But I mean, I'll still be here to talk.
Right on.
Do we have Drace's song?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Here on Scientific Crossroads that symbolize the international spirit of space, age, tomorrow.
Yeah, we're at a crossroads. I'm living in your tomorrow, and it's an international dystopia filled with man's sorrow. You can forget the delusional utopia. Sitting at your workstation, do you get the implication of your predestined designation? Syndrome, domestication, status, victimization, vocation, misapplication of man in creation. One step closer to automation or complete behavioral modification, a psychological operation on the entire population. Programmed emasculation and freedom eradication, now it's truth by declaration and character assassination. Wars between puppet nations, propaganda on every station, public lost in mass consumption of poisons like fluoridation. They fool you with the concentration, it's still rat poison by demonstration. Is Epstein's friendly relation the solution to overpopulation? With his World Health Organization and the justification, vaccine monetization for a fake infestation, complete dehumanization, medical registration, moral degradation for the elite's preservation. All based in misinterpretation, using the media centralization through the repeated indoctrination and state-sponsored misinformation. It's human experimentation, trauma-based vaccination, isolation and deprivation is not medication. For psyche fragmentation, done in desperation, a fear of humiliation, done with our cooperation, a moral resignation, and controlled publication, a scientific imitation. That's not science, bruh. That's pseudoscience. Bring up child exploitation related by royal blood relations, protected by black law legislation is all an abomination. Protecting its reputation, an aberration, deserving no admiration, leading to your predation. Fixation, inflation, deflation, endless persuasion, familial separation, and economic migration is actually an invasion. Racial segregation, CTR integration, discrimination, guilt by association, all for the acceleration of your damnation. It's just your imagination, but requires your hesitation and moral pervasion. Compliments of the Mason. So welcome to the plantation. Understand the ramification. Through our cooperation, dedication, and determination, you get the qualification. It's time for a re-evaluation, an actual verification, a graduation from animation and manipulation. Work on your cultivation and communication. Share the information with the population about the situation. This will lead to the unification and scientific invigoration through endless inspiration. It's a harmonization of civilization. Avoid the temptation, break the domination, have the realization and find the motivation. The invalidation of the explanation and imagination brings about a transformation. It's time for a rejuvenation of mankind in creation. This is your invitation for participation in mankind's liberation, man's salvation, a true revelation. Peace.
That was straight fire. Drace, you never cease to amaze me.
Yeah, that beat drop. Good. Hot.